Sports station, live from the Comcast Business Studios. 97.5, The Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5, The Fanatic, and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I appreciate honesty. I would rather somebody tell me straight to my face how they truly feel about me.
All right, we'll do that at 8:10.
All right, that's coming your way in 2 hours and 10 minutes. Vic Fangio kind of did that yesterday about the Eagles. Did we appreciate it or not? It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
This year, the 2024 Phillies rotation has pitched better than the 2011 Four Aces rotation.
And it's been a bunch of years since the team has had 3 pitchers with 10 wins before the All-Star break. This is historic.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Fanatic Friday, Payday Friday, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
And a good morning to you. Do we get to tell Connor, too, what we think of him?
If he wants it, like I said, I appreciate honesty. I appreciate when people tell me how they really feel. Some people don't like that.
I already know how much you guys love me. It's okay.
We have no problem with this show, just sort of saying exactly what we think.
I think the most honest I ever was to Connor Thomas. I once told Connor Thomas if I didn't know him, I'd hate him.
That is very honest.
That's a true story.
It's a true story. He was showing me a video from him at the Super Bowl parade. You were crashing the 2 beers. And
sorry, I like the birds, bro.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm going,
there it
with
is.
everything that I know of you, Connor, if I didn't know the person that you actually are, because you are a great person.
Thank you.
I mean that. But if I remember saying to Connor, if you just walked into a bar
you wouldn't
and
like
I
him.
saw you, I would hate you. And you know me. I have a hate list. So
I think Connor's a dichotomy.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Listen, I grow on people.
Yes, you do.
The hope is that in this conversation we have about Vic Fangio and the Eagles defense, they grow on us as well.
Way to produce the show and get us back on track. All right, so yesterday, Vic Fangio spoke to the media. Not his first time as the defensive coordinator of the Eagles, but his first time since the start of training camp. And it was awesome. Let's just get this out of the way. It was great. This guy is football, right? It's
all about the football.
He doesn't care about pomp and circumstances. He doesn't know what the definition of swagger is, right? He's telling kids to basically shut up because they were too loud. He's trying to hold a professional press conference while also not giving too much, while also being honest, while also not giving a damn about anything else other than football. You've said a million times, John, that we will fall in love with Vic Fangio. It did not take long. Yesterday's press conference made me fall in love with that man.
I think this town is perfect for Vic Fangio.
Absolutely.
And I think he understands, and plus he has family relatively in the area.
Right.
He understands what we're about. But more importantly, Vic Fangio, wherever he's coached. Mark Schlereth said it to me the minute he became the DC. Mm-hmm. He said, Philly's going to love Vic Fangio.
Oh, yeah.
He said, Vic Fangio plays to our common senses.
Right.
He is a no-nonsense, old school, doesn't want no bull crap.
Correct. And I wonder, remember, Miami players had a problem with him last year.
Yes.
I wonder if us as a fan base help the players buy into Vic Fangio, because we're a no bull crap fan base.
Fan base, absolutely.
If you start to struggle, we will let you hear it, right? I mean, Darius Slade did the podcast, right? Oh, man, it's halftime after we won the Super Bowl. We're getting booed. Or after we played in the Super Bowl, we're getting booed. Yeah, that's the way that it is in this town because we expect greatness out of you, right? We want the best out of you. So I wonder if our relationship with the Eagles players also helps them. Right, because Vic Fangio makes no bones about it. Devin White yesterday was saying how he called Jalen Carter out in front of everybody after day one of training camp. After day one of camp. Whereas a lot of people will probably go, it's just day one, coach. What are you getting on me for? He doesn't care what day of the week it is.
He is the one thing is with the Vic Fangio, and I said it to you before. Vic Fangio, there's a coach. If you're worried about any of the dogs that are on this Eagles team having a problem with Fangio, they won't be whining to the media about it. They played for Kirby Smart.
Right,
who literally,
that helps. Yeah.
Him and his entire staff. They were the best team in the SEC, the most talented team. And they were getting dog-cussed out every day.
And it's not like they've been removed all that long from it.
Correct. That's what they're used to. And they like it. And Nolan Smith, I like being coached hard.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter, I'm used to being coached hard.
Right.
He didn't say he likes it. He's used to it.
But he's used to it.
But these guys don't care.
Yeah, I guess nobody really likes getting screamed at.
No. No, it's not always the best.
Being coached harder is probably a good thing. How many times have we heard the stories of Carson Wentz and John DeFilippo? They hated each other. But a lot of people point to the day that DeFilippo left the Eagles as the downfall of Carson Wentz because he was no longer coached hard by the Press Taylors and Mike Groves and Doug Peterson.
Well, think of it this way, is that if I look at my own life, from business, any kind of business in my life or otherwise, if I was coached hard, I would say if I saw the results, I completely bought in.
Yeah.
If I didn't see the results, I completely was out.
Right.
There was no middle ground. Either I hated being coached hard or I liked it.
Right.
But it depended on, did the person's plan or what they were trying to teach me to do, did it produce results?
Right.
Did I see that they had a better plan or knew more than what I needed? And to me, I think that's the big deal with a lot of players.
Yeah,
Are you going to
absolutely.
help get, and I think for most pro players, and fans don't want to hear it, is this guy going to help get me paid?
Oh, that's a big time.
Is this guy going to help get me paid, make me elite, get me to be the Pro Bowler, get me a championship? That's what they care about.
If you're a guy like Milton Williams, you're totally buying into Vic Fangio.
You
I
better
would
sure
think,
as hell buy
right?
into it.
He's on a contract year. He hasn't really played all that much.
I got to tell you, I don't know what Milton Williams has done as an Eagle.
Right. He's
don't-
had
I
some
don't-
moments, but nothing
Yeah,
big.
I
He's
mean,
been overshadowed by a lot of talented defensive tackles.
If you blinked, you missed them.
I didn't realize this was his last year until we
No, I
started
didn't
talking
either.
about it, right? Like, it's amazing how long he's been here. So there are guys that I imagine are buying into the Vic Fangio style of being a defensive coordinator. But my question for you today, it's 610-632-0975. You can text in, you can call in, and I'm going to kick this around with John and Connor. Did Vic Fangio instill confidence or concern for you yesterday? We all love his honesty, right? We all love, I think, his demeanor. We all love that this guy just breathes football.
I love telling the kids to shut up. So
Right,
yesterday
it's
was like,
great.
without saying shut up. I love that.
But he was very honest.
He
We
was.
already have concerns about the defense, right? We all agree that the defense is the side of the ball that we go,
Yep.
all right, that might be the reason why they get held back from something, even though there might be people wondering if Jalen Hurts can return to 2022 form. You think that even at a bare minimum, that offense is helping you produce 10, 11, 12 wins,
Yes.
right? Defensively, we have concerns because of the lack of talent in certain areas, the question marks of who was starting. Bryce Huff, can he take over as an every down rusher? Vic Fangio was asked about a lot of these things, and he was very honest yesterday.
I love how I think people though who didn't hear it have to hear some of it,
We got
and then
'em.
when they hear it, they'll react. We heard it, and I could watch you just watching reaction when he would say something that would make me interested. I could look at you and you'd be doing the same thing, like, oh,
Yeah, like, oh,
there it is.
all
Okay,
right. I've been waiting
very
for that one.
He's very candid.
Right. He's not afraid to
He doesn't give
tell
a-
what he feels.
He's above. He's almost at full retirement age. He does not give a flip.
No, of course not.
He's got money in the bank. He's a grandpa. He does not give a flip. So he is going to let it fly
Yeah.
on these young players. Whether they react to it well or not, we're going to see on the field.
So we will play some clips for you.
Interesting.
Vic Fangio yesterday was asked about, look, we have a cut sheet in front of us, right?
Right.
21 cuts.
He gets to a lot in a short period of
Well,
time.
some of them are like 5 seconds
Yes.
long. There's no point of even having them on the sheet, right? Like, it's just like, I'm not going to answer. But like one of them, the 8-second clip of not knowing what swagger is. Like I loved
he
it.
knows what it is, but he's like, what the hell?
He says swagger are guys that can win to him. Like, that's
Exactly. I mean-
awesome, right? Like, he doesn't care. There's no pomp and circumstances when it comes to Vic Fangio. But here's one of the clips where he's very honest, which I appreciate. I don't need things sugar-coated. I don't need Nick Sirianni a couple years ago when he was asked about the wide receiver crew give a 4-minute answer on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Like, I don't need that. Like, we know that guy
About how good a
sucked.
blocker he was,
Right, like, we
right?
know that guy did not belong in the NFL. He stunk, and it was a wasted draft pick. I did not need a wasted 4-minute clip of Nick Sirianni talking about J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, how great Greg Ward was. Like, I don't need that kind of stuff. Here's Vic Fangio being honest about his evaluation through 2 days of training camp on Bryce Huff.
Well, I think everybody thought he could, and knowing that the floor was just rush downs, but he's taken the challenge on very well, and I do think he has the talent to do what we want him to do. It's just he's got to get familiar with doing it. And so it will be a work in progress. Does he look like he could do it today? No, but I do think eventually he will.
No.
I love.
It's a great answer.
I so love that answer.
Yes.
I don't know that Bryce Huff probably loved it.
I don't know if Howie Roseman loved it.
And you know what, though, again,
He doesn't care.
when you're 65 going on 66, he doesn't give a flip.
Now, in case you're confused by what he was talking about, the question was Bryce Huff in his career has just been on the field for rush downs on plays they believe the quarterback will be dropping back to pass and he is going to rush the passer. In case you're not the nuts and bolts of the conversation, he does not play on the field on run downs. He now is getting paid to be a 3-down lineman on this team. He's never really done it in his career, and when he has done it, the statistics don't really speak glowingly of Bryce Huff.
No, they do not.
They're paying him to be Hassan Reddick. All right? They're paying him to be a 3-down lineman that makes an impact. And Vic Fangio straight up says if the season started today, he's not ready.
He's not ready to do that. He has the skill set. We've seen the skill set.
Right.
That he's got it. I questioned that from the minute they signed Huff.
Yes.
You asked the question of me. You asked the question of Connor. That is leadership to me. That is coaching.
Oh, yeah.
That is, and I know people say, well, you've read, and I know, and Connor will tell you, is because Bob would tell me all the time, you read too much into press conferences. I'm going to tell you there's an exact example where you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people actually answer a question honestly.
Right.
Some people actually aren't afraid to just say what they think, how they think, without trashing somebody.
Right.
He was careful there of how he said it, but he didn't hesitate.
Right.
I think he put a challenge. I think he drew a line in the sand for Bryce.
I think so,
Huff.
too.
Of challenge of, hey, we got 4 weeks here. Let's ramp it up.
Let's figure this
Get
out.
ready to go. We'll get this thing worked out.
All right, another one I want to play for you. James Bradbury's still on the roster as of today. I read a story not that long ago that there's still a chance that maybe a team desperately needs a corner that they could trade for, and maybe,
and it could happen.
It could happen. They get a late round pick for him or something like that.
Third day pick is what was suspected.
Right, absolutely. So there's a lot of talk about James Bradbury moving to safety, right? And we go, all right, let's see what he could do.
Yeah.
Vic Fangio gives an honest answer.
You say that you've seen that a lot over the years. The truth is, no, you haven't. The list of guys successfully transitioning from corner to safety is very small with success. There's guys that have done it, but it really wasn't what you want. And we'll see if he can do that. James has got a good feel for football, very knowledgeable, so that will help him in that transition. He's still going to play some corner for us, too.
Howie hated that answer.
You've seen guys do it.
No.
Successfully? No.
I love that answer. Because, again, you have a media member, and I, by the way, got that clip for my class for next year.
Okay.
To teach my class. A media member at a press conference to Vic Fangio making a statement, not asking a question. Making a statement, not a question. And Vic Fangio's, no, your facts are wrong. No, you have not seen that successfully. But the media member thinks that they do know it, that it's been done successfully. It hasn't been. And I love that answer. I bet you Howie hated it.
It was another answer
I bet you Howie
honesty,
hated it.
which is a breath of fresh air. Let me make this clear. I love the honesty.
So do
it
I.
just raises more concern when you already had concerns about certain positions. Last one I'm going to play for you, probably the position that we're all most concerned about, even though I'm worried about the pass rush. It's kind of because I know what to expect out of the linebacking crew.
Okay.
Here he is talking about the linebackers, and Amy Fadul said it best yesterday during midday show. She said it's just like what Steve Spurrier used to say. Sometimes more is less. Take a listen.
I like Zach. He's a guy that's played very little inside linebacker in his career. We think he can do it. Obviously, Devin's had a career where he has done it. N'Kobe, has shown that he can do it in college. Really hadn't had the opportunity to do it here because his first year he was behind two good players, and last year he was injured. Same thing with Trotter, Ben, Orn. They're all in the mix, really.
All these linebackers, they're all in the mix.
Amy, Amy's brilliant with that.
Yes.
Because that is classic Spurrier. The idea is that
More is less.
Other than quarterbacks, which he would yank around his quarterbacks big time, like, he'd play two quarterbacks in the game just for the hell of it,
right?
Just to piss people off,
right?
Or getting one quarterback's head. He absolutely believed if you didn't have somebody at the top of the depth chart, you had nothing.
Yeah, and
it wasn't a strength to the old school coaches,
right?
Well, we have three guys who could potentially be the starter. That's awful.
Right.
They want to know they got one guy.
They want to know that they got the guy. And you hear those names, right? Zach Bond, we're going to try to play him at inside linebacker, a position that he's never played before. Devin White had a good career. Not Devin White is great. He had a good career, which we know the deal. He's slumped the last couple of years. We hope that maybe he can have a resurgence on a prove-it deal with a talented football team that the Eagles are. He mentions Nakobe Dean. He's had success in college. He hasn't been able to show it here so far. We have Ben Van Sumeren, a guy that they picked up randomly last season. Oren Burks, and then unfortunately Trotter gets carted off the field yesterday. I haven't seen an update. Any update? I
think it was. They said that he was then standing on his own.
Okay, I didn't.
Afterwards.
All I saw was he was carted off the field.
But I think that was just precautionary, at least from what I understand.
He's a fifth-round pick. Are you expecting him to make some sort of impact this year?
Now, there are a lot of people in the Eagles fan base that are just because of his last name.
Right.
Update: he had leg cramps. He should be fine, according to Jeff McClain.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Connor.
Good job, Jeff.
But so you hear Vic Fangio, and he's very honest, and I think we all love that. We all love his mentality. We all love who Vic Fangio is. But is his honesty instilling confidence or more concern for you, knowing that you already had concerns on the defense? Let's talk about it. You can text and you can call in 610-632-0975. Connor, you're Mr. Patience.
Yeah.
Which is good. I'm patient with the defense. I will try to be, at least. The offense is the side of the ball that I'm not patient with. When you hear Vic Fangio and his honesty, did it make you feel any better or worse about the defense?
It doesn't make me feel better. I don't know how you can hear that and come out of it and say, well, I feel better about where they're at. I already believed Vic Fangio to be a competent defensive coordinator.
Right.
Better than competent. His resume speaks for himself. So I always have had faith that he's going to do everything he can to coach these guys into position. But I don't love him coming in here and basically listing every level of the defense and saying, hey, we have a question here and a question here and a question here, and I don't know that these guys are ready right now. Now, it was the second day of camp. So if we're having these conversations in a month, then we got bigger issues, obviously. So there's time. That's where Mr. Patience comes in. I'm not rushing through anything, but I didn't hear that and think, wow, this is going to be a lock top half of the NFL defense. I think that they're playing with a lot of question marks like we thought, and to hear it from a great defensive mind like Vic Fangio confirms that we need to keep an eye on this unit if this team is going to do what we want them to do.
Now, I'd be curious. Forgive me. I didn't really listen to Vic Fangio's training camp press conferences when he was with the Dolphins last year.
Right.
Forgive me. I
thought you were a football guy.
Yeah. Or when he was the head of the, coach in Denver.
Right.
As a head coach.
But as of last year, I'm thinking about one season ago, a team where he was the defensive coordinator. That team had a lot of talent defensively.
Yes, it did.
They got hurt. It was a shame what was going on in Miami because they had injuries, it seemed like, every single week. But that defense had a lot of talent on it. Jalen Ramsey was on that team. Van Ginkel was on that team. Bradley Chubb was on that team. Xavier Howard was on that team. They had talented players. I wonder what he was saying during the press conferences leading up to the season last year at Miami. Was he very honest?
Well, I can tell you that he rubbed a lot of the guys the wrong way from the beginning.
I know he did.
Because of the fact that the difference, they were established guys.
Right.
There was more guys that were either established there or established around the league that he didn't. That I think they thought he was too blunt in his assessments. Well,
maybe that's a good thing.
He came in again. To me, it makes me feel like we've got an adult in charge.
Yeah, thank God
that he's there. I very much believe that he's not just going to blow sunshine up our skirt. He's telling us the truth,
which I appreciate. I hope everybody appreciates his honesty. Right. The question is not do you appreciate Vic Fangio, the human being?
I think in today's day and age, people actually appreciate that less. I think the further we go in society, people are worried about people's feelings.
I know. I wonder
and
when
concerns.
that tide changes. I don't know. Like I think of
I don't know that
I
it
think of
will.
myself. I appreciate blunt honesty from bosses. Like I appreciate it because I think that's the only way that's going to make me better.
Or you'd
but I
rather-
also know that people call me a 60-year-old. So like, you know.
And you'd rather get to it. Like to me, why play dance around the like? Let's get to it.
Right, it's like the Hurts and Sirianni
Right.
thing. Like
Get
if
to
I had
it.
a beef
It
with
didn't-
somebody,
that didn't have to go on for 3
let's
months.
just get this done with. And we
Right.
can either be friends or we can say, hey, we don't like each other, but at least we can work together. Something like that. But that's just who I am. I'm built different. That's what they
Right.
say. All right, coming up next, we have more Eagles discussion. Would love to hear from you at 610-632-0975, whether or not Vic Fangio instilled confidence or concern you yesterday. But also, we are 5 days away from the MLB trade deadline. You know how I feel. Trade everybody. I don't give a damn who you are, where you are in the pipeline.
Family conflict.
Yeah. However, the problem might be who's actually available. Bob Nightingale was on last night with Kevin Cooney. Somebody might be off the table that we all had eyes on. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Salciunas on this Fanatic Friday, payday Fanatic Friday.
You like that part?
Yeah, absolutely. Makes the day even better. Oh, look, these weeks are great. Burrito Thursday from Wendy's, payday Friday the next day. I mean, this is a beautiful thing.
What a life you live.
It's nice, man. All right, so our first question that we would love your responses from on the text line, the phone line, 610-632-0975. Did Vic Fangio instill confidence in you yesterday when you heard the way he spoke, the way he handled himself at the podium? John, as you said, he seems like an adult, right?
Yeah,
like,
we have an adult in the room.
We have an adult
a guy
in the room.
There's nothing that's going to happen with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2024 that Vic Fangio hasn't handled 5-6 times in his career.
Which is clearly something that they didn't have last year between Sirianni, Brian Johnson, and Sean Desai. It was too young. And that was one of my issues with Sirianni's initial coaching staff. Now, credit to him, Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, they got to a Super Bowl in year 2. But
Sure.
I wanted more of a veteran presence to help a young coach who had never coached in his life to kind of get used to the NFL. He didn't do that. They got to the Super Bowl. That's great. I'm glad that they finally have an adult, and I think that's going to help Sirianni out.
I prefer young head coach, old school coordinator.
Yes, me too.
One of them that has at least been a head coach before.
Oh, Wade Phillips.
Like, Wade Phillips is one.
Right, yeah.
I say is that that's the first call Sean McVay made.
Right.
When he got his head coaching job, he called Wade Phillips, like the oldest defensive coordinator,
Yeah, man.
and called him. And Phillips had 3 teams interested in him.
Yeah.
And supposedly Wade had to really be sold. And he goes, "Look, I'm going to leave you alone.
Right.
I'm going to let you
you're
do
the
your
defensive
thing."
coordinator.
I have a feeling the same speech was given to Vic Fangio.
Yeah, look,
we're going to leave you. We're going to let you do your thing.
Jim Schwartz has reached that stage of his life where he's
Sure.
probably not going to be a head coach anymore. He'll just be a DC for the rest of his life.
Well,
and
you do
he's
a good
very
job.
good at it. He was great.
Really
Like
good
Cleveland
job.
was fantastic last season. So did he instill confidence when you heard the way he spoke? Or did he add to your concern about the defense? Because he was very, very honest. Very honest about how Bryce Huff would not be ready to be a 3-down lineman if the season started today. Very honest about how every linebacker is in the mix because there isn't a clear-cut best linebacker on this team. Very honest about how James Bradbury won't just seamlessly make the transition to safety and be successful at it. That not many cornerbacks who eventually moved over to safety have had success. So he
Despite
was very
what
honest.
the media members tell him.
He was very honest yesterday, and we already had concerns with the defense. So did he help you or hurt you yesterday? You can text in and call in 610-632-0975. The other thing that we want to get into, I know we're very Eagles-focused now that training camp has started, but we're 5 days away from the MLB trade deadline, a big moment for a Phillies team that's competing and will try to get to a World Series this year. A very big moment for a lot of baseball teams, John, because everybody's kind of in the mix still at this point. Now that they added that third wild card team, there's a handful of teams that are out of it.
And it's weird because the Phillies have a magic number today of 50.
Yes.
Braves lost again last night.
Amazing.
In fact, the magic number may start being calculated off the Mets. Mets are only half
Yeah.
game behind them. There are so many teams that are in it. But to me, it's this trade deadline leaves you in a very sort of confusing place as far as what do the Phillies do and how do they go about it. We're less than 5 days. It'll be Tuesday afternoon. It'll all be over.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily confusing for the Phillies. They want to add. I think it's confusing for teams like the Detroit Tigers. They're 51-53. They're 2 games under 500, right?
Right.
You would think, so they're probably, 10 out of the wild card? No, they're 5.5 games back. The Detroit Tigers, they're not going to make the playoffs. I can tell you comfortably
they will
today,
not. Yes.
they're not going to make the playoffs.
Hey, easy. Matt Vierling's on that team.
But the Detroit Tigers franchise,
It'd be an upgrade for us in the outfield.
the Detroit Tigers franchise, I'm not bringing him back, was
Come on.
How dare you? Car
I'm
Shield.
anti-Car
Car Shield has been
dude.
weak since they lost their sponsor.
The Tigers franchise has been rebuilding, and they're starting to finally show life. Do they want to tell their fan base, hey, we're done for the season, we'll try again next year? Or they go, hey, maybe we could try to make a push for that final wild card spot that we're only 5.5 games back. I think it's confusing for teams like the Tigers, Rangers, Rays, even though they made a trade last night. And it might be confusing for teams like the Reds, Cubs, and Giants in the National League.
I think it's confusing for the Phillies, though. I really do. I'll make my case. I think that right now that's a team that has to decide, are you feeling the need to push all your chips to the center of the table when you've got the best record in baseball already? Do you feel you have to just say, okay, we're not just going to go for fixes where we can find improvements over maybe some fringe players, like a platoon outfielder or something like that? Or do you say to yourself, look, we got the best team in baseball, and we've been the best team in baseball all season long. Why do you have to mortgage the future to just try to make the best, even like over-the-top best?
Because the best isn't a guarantee to win a World Series, and I want to up my chances.
Then why don't you up your chances by giving yourself more years to win a World Series? By not mortgaging the future in a year where you already have the best record.
I know that I have a chance this year. I don't know what happens next year.
You do. You absolutely. You don't know. The last 2 years you've seen it. They've had a real chance to win a World Series.
I saw it in 7 through 11.
And well, you mortgaged you had it then. Then you mortgaged the future.
No, but I saw Ryan Howard's leg blow up on the final swing of the season. And then he was out the whole next year. But
you also kept mortgaging the future, where you depleted every resource you had and you sucked for a decade. I don't want to do that again. There's no reason for me to say now Dave Dombrowski has to put every single chip to the center of the table in a year when you've already got the best record, clear of 3 games on the Dodgers, 5 games on the Brewers.
Right.
I don't want to see them go in and just get rid of everybody that you've got.
I don't think they're going to get rid of everybody. I don't think
get rid of your biggest prospect.
They might not have to. So
I hope that's the case.
So 2 reasons. Number 1, Randy Arozarena, a guy that a lot of people started having eyes on over the last couple of weeks. He got traded last night. Not to the Philadelphia Phillies. He got traded to the Seattle Mariners. A piece that a lot of people were interested in here in Philadelphia. The Mariners didn't even trade a top 10 prospect for him.
It's perfect.
A guy that's still under control. Usually it's, he's still under control.
Another year after this.
Oh, then the offer will have to be upped, right? No, they didn't even give up a top 10 prospect. And I don't know what the Seattle Mariners pipeline is, right? The Phillies, you sent it to us yesterday. The Phillies have 4 prospects.
3 guys. The Phillies have 3 guys in the top 35.
Which is amazing.
And it's the first time they've had, as long as Keith Law has done it for ESPN and The Athletic, the Phillies have never had 3 in the top 35.
Which is amazing. The Mariners gave up a not even top 10 prospect in their farm system for a guy that's had success in the playoffs before. The other big name that would have cost you a lot may be off the table. Bob Nightingale was on with Kevin Cooney last night for Philly Sports Tonight. And here he is talking about Mason Miller.
No, I think slammed the door shut, but I don't think there was any way he was being traded. I was told last week that, the A's pretty much aren't trading anybody. There might be like a middle reliever or something. That's about it. But they were never trading Miller, just like I don't think the Tigers were ever considering trading Skubal. I mean, we'll see in a few days. But same thing, is you can't get enough pieces to trade arms like that.
So we've been talking about Mason Miller, since opening day?
Yeah.
As the guy that we all have eyes on?
He's not going anywhere.
I would imagine there's still a chance if you're willing to spend a lot.
Yeah, which you shouldn't do.
I'd always be curious.
But you shouldn't do it, right?
I'd be curious.
He might be the one guy.
Okay, for Mason Miller, first of all, let's just make this clear. The A's have never said he's available. Ever have acknowledged that they'd even listen.
I believe Logan O'Hoppe was an untouchable prospect.
No, but
the
they've
day
never even
before the trade deadline.
And they traded him for a fringe guy.
Yeah.
Everybody has a price.
Everybody has a price.
I do not believe that we will be talking about a Mason Miller being available. I don't. And by the way, his finger injury on his non-throwing hand is not going to keep him from being traded.
No, it's not.
I hear people going, well, he's off the board now.
No, it's on his glove hand.
Like,
he's
seriously,
fine.
what are you talking about? That would not stop him.
He'll be fine.
That would not stop him from being traded. By the way, the commissioner's office, some are saying, well, the commissioner's office would have to approve the deal. The commissioner's office has approved the deal numerous times.
Yeah.
When it doesn't involve anything that involves surgery or otherwise.
Right. If
he's going to be, if they wanted to trade for him, he could be moved.
So, here's my second question for you guys today. And I think I know where you stand, John, and I'm pretty sure I know where you stand, Connor, and I'm pretty sure you guys know where I stand when it comes to this. We're 5 days away from the trade deadline. One player of note already on the move. Another player of major note may not even be out there available. if the Phillies don't make a move of note, they might make a move. They have to make a move. Like, they're going to add, right? They're not going to sit on their hands. They're going to add something. But it might be not the sexiest move. It might be a move where you're going to be running to Fanatics and buying your jersey, right? Like, you're not going to be doing Rally House. You're not going to be buying the jersey of this player. If they don't make a move of note, how are we feeling? Because you know how people are already panicking. People are already panicking about this baseball team and how they've leaked all their oil since the trip to London.
Connor, go with this one. Go with his answer because I want to hear yours first.
How are you feeling, Connor, if the Phillies don't make a move of note?
Totally fine. And there's no reason why you shouldn't feel totally fine. From two perspectives. First, let's look at the perspective of the guy making the decision. Is there any reason, like, look inside yourself as a person. Is there any way that you can look me in the eyes and tell me that you know more than Dave Dombrowski knows?
Maybe.
That'd be every executive you've ever known in sports, though.
That's not true. Some of them are idiots. I'll defend that to the day I die.
But they know more than you know.
But
just significantly more than you know.
I'm talking track record. I'm not talking about conversations or knowledge. I'm saying Dave Dombrowski has built World Series champion teams multiple times. He gets moves right so much more often than he gets them wrong. He's handled everything with the Phillies really, really well. Everybody has misses like Whit Merrifield or Taijuan Walker or Josh Harrison, but largely he has been amazing. So I trust him unbelievably so to do what's right for this team.
I tell you, one more bullpen arm, and I feel significantly better. A bullpen arm and a left field platoon hitter. I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm fine, and I don't need it to be knock you off your socks moves because those kind of moves the Phillies have shown in their past. The big splashy moves don't necessarily be the ones that make the biggest difference. And I watched the Braves a few years ago go out and get 4 spare parts, and those spare parts helped be World Series champions.
Hold on. You have said this message before. Don't let something in the past scare you, because it doesn't mean it's going to be the same this time. Like, if they made a splashy move, are you going to be like, oh, my God, it didn't work in 2009 while it worked here?
I don't see where a splashy move for this team is necessary. Now, there's nobody could convince me it's necessary
and it's
they make a splash.
It might not be necessary, but we could have a conversation whether or not they should do it. And if there's an opportunity, they still should.
Yeah,
there's question marks with this baseball team. That is the best team in baseball. Correct?
Then there's bigger question marks everywhere else.
Yes. But why should I care about other people's question marks? I want to solidify my team.
It's insane what you just said. That's absolutely flat out insane.
That is insane.
All right, then let's have the insane conversation coming up next. Also, your reaction to our Vic Fangio question. Did he instill confidence or concern you yesterday? You can text the show at 610-632-0975. We hit up the text line coming up next. Also, random questions out of a hat on a Fanatic Friday right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Ricky Vitalico.
I don't think you could have found anything better right now. I know people will say,
97.5 The Fanatic. John and I were talking about childhood homes during the break, and I was telling him about, well, he was saying how his childhood home has been redone on the inside, and, and it made you happy.
Yeah, I think it's great for those people.
My childhood home, the first time I drove by it, I saw that they changed out the shutters. And I was telling John that I had to, because I was grounded, repaint all the shutters. That was my summer job, grounded job.
And it just went to waste.
And I'm like, those sons of guns. I painted in my non-ventilated garage 18 shutters, double coat. Right, I had to put them back on myself, climb up on the roof, put them on myself, and they just go in there.
See,
that makes the punishment better.
That pissed me off.
Dave Dombrowski has less work to do this offseason.
Yeah, exactly.
And Vic Fangio, too. Then you had to do that.
No. I think Vic Fangio has a lot of work to do this offseason.
He'd rather paint shutters?
Yeah. No, I think he'd rather be the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, but I would still think that his workload is a little bit harder than my shutter painting when there's guys that haven't played positions before, like Zach Bond and Bryce Huff is a 3-down lineman, and he's got to work on those things. All right, so I know we have the text line buzzing right now. What do we have, Connor? Our 2 questions today. Did Vic Fangio instill confidence or more concern in you yesterday? We'll replay some of the clips coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, but he was very honest, which we liked. But he was very honest, which also concerned us. And then when it comes to the Phillies, if they don't make a move of note, how are we feeling? Because I know a lot of you are already panicking, and we'll get into this conversation about looking at other teams' questions. But I want to get to the text line first. You can text show 610-632-0975. What do you got, Connor?
Anthony in St. Pete checks in on Vic Fangio. He says, very happy with Vic and his candor. He will play the best personnel after his evaluations, and preseason and joint practices will help with his decisions. It's a very refreshing way to handle this, and it's way too early to get excited or down about the defense as a whole.
I like the he'll play his best players portion.
I love that, too.
Because I think back, and again, I think Howie Roseman has gotten better at this stuff. I really do. I believe at one point, Howie Roseman was, well, we all agree, he believed he was the smartest man in the room. And I think he also wanted to make sure his contracts were being played.
Okay, yeah, his players were being front and center.
Travis Fulgham, I know that name is a very popular name during this time slot over the last couple of years.
The morning show lore around him is strong.
Travis Fulgham was having a great stretch of games until Alshon Jeffrey came back, who looked like he couldn't move anymore. But he was getting paid handsomely.
Yeah, so he was going to get the play.
And I believe that's the only reason why he was on the field. Do I believe Travis Fulgham, if he was able to keep on playing, would have turned into something special? No, probably not. There's a reason why he was released by teams before he came to the Eagles, right? And they picked him up out of desperation. But I believe there was times where Howie Roseman may have made it be known that he wanted certain players to play because of their contracts, despite their struggles and inability to stay on the field.
Do you think that doesn't happen now?
I don't think it's as bad.
I don't think it's as bad, but I do believe that kind of stuff still happens.
But I think Vic Fangio would say, "LOL, shut up, dude." Like I don't think
I don't think he knows what LOL means.
He might. You might be right. Yeah, you might be right.
I don't think he's a texter.
No.
I definitely think Vic Fangio does not use emojis.
Yeah, he's saying, "Call me."
He does not use emojis.
So, I don't know. Like, I think it might still go on with Howie, but I don't think...
It's not what it was.
And not with Vic Fangio. And I like that point from Ant from St. Pete that, Vic Fangio's going to play his best guys. And he even said that. He said that during his... We'll play another clip from
that's what we want.
Coming up. He said, I don't care if you're a rookie or a vet. If you're the best guy, you're going to play.
There's a lot
that's
of...
great.
The one thing, too, is Eagles lore. We've done well with old coordinators, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Oh, Jim Johnson, number one. Yeah.
Jim Johnson, Buddy Ryan, who was running his defense. Also, too, Bud Carson back in the day. Old, crusty defensive coordinators.
They fit well
guys
in
that
city,
have been.
Man.
It fits this market.
Absolutely.
And it's what we want.
Yeah.
It's what we want. We don't want coddling. We don't want, Now, I think the fan base has certainly changed.
Yes.
We're much more about our feelings and being nice to people.
I don't think it's also just that. I think it's I think it's also the NFL's told you that it's all about offense and not.
Well, I think that's part of it. But our what we obsess about, what we worry about, talk about a lot is are we too tough on people? Like, I can't believe. I can promise you this. Having done sports talk radio in the 90s, down the dial starting out my career, there was never a discussion of, are we too tough on people?
No, I know.
Like,
no, it's
nowadays,
amazing.
it's like, should we give a standing ovation to a guy who's doing nothing? Like, that was never, it's a different
Who's in
day and
the
age.
MVP conversation this year, by the way.
But you know what? Vic Fangio has to deal with those athletes.
Yeah, he does. I mean,
It's not old
it's
school.
got to be a hard job.
You got to adapt. You must adapt. If you don't adapt, you die.
Right.
If you don't adapt, look at the newspaper industry. You don't adapt, you die.
All right, what do we have on the Phil? I know we have a text on the Phillies. What do we got?
Yeah, Phil in Jersey. This is before we got into the Phillies conversation. He says, bring back up the prospect argument, Andrew. No one cares about these future guys when Broad Street has a reservation for a parade.
Oh, thank you for
Okay.
That was my burner.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that was my. I actually,
You're segueing through the text line?
I texted that one in.
I would
Love
love
that.
to know from that gentleman, or Andrew can speak with him. Speak for him. Who are we worried about? Like, who are we? If we have concerns about the Phillies, who's the team we're worried about?
Anybody, John? The
Okay,
Arizona,
that's too vague.
the
That's
Arizona
ridiculous.
Diamondbacks got to the
I
World
understand.
Series last year and punked you in the NLCS.
I understand, and it does. And you know what the Phillies had? A considerably more talented roster. They had the more considerably talented players. So why in the world do you have to add another star?
Because
for
I'd
another
rather
thing?
have more talent. I'm not going to. You know what? Let's trade Bryce Harper because we're too talented.
No, what I'm
I want to
saying
be
is
the Diamondbacks.
You are the best team in baseball for a reason.
And I want to continue
Act
to
like
add
it.
every team
Act
in
like you
sports.
believe that.
Every team in sports at the trade deadline that's the best is always trying to improve in all sports.
You can improve, but you don't have to improve with a mortgage the future moves. Trading Aiden Miller.
I'm not
trading Andrew Painter.
I'm not trading for a rental. I'm trading for maybe players that have control.
Yeah. Randy
All right.
Arozarena wasn't going to be the difference between you winning a World Series or not.
He would have helped. And,
Yes.
and it's crazy that the Mariners didn't even have to give him a top prospect. So hopefully, maybe the market is not as expensive as we thought. We'll continue that discussion. We'll reset the show. We'll play you this Vic Fangio cuts. We'd love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. Also, we got to get to a random question out of the hat. And something from Jalen Hurts that you're going to like is coming your way in the 7 o'clock hour. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. Eagles can't continue. and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this Fanatic Friday. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy it. That's all
It's going to be a fun weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be
Gonna be
great
beautiful.
It's going to be a beautiful
A perfect
weekend,
10.
So freaking enjoy it, man.
Chris Sowers from Channel 6 says, perfect 10 weekend. That's awesome.
I'll hold you to it, Chris. If it's not a perfect 10, we're going to have words.
If it's a 9.9, I swear.
We're having
I think
words.
Chris looks like he could handle you.
Probably.
Not
looks like
both
you
of
can-
us.
I'm a lover.
Yeah, that's
I'm a
the
lover, not a fighter,
And
man.
Andrew will jump him.
My days have changed. Coming up in about 8 minutes at 7:10.
That's very precise of you.
As we continue to talk about Vic Fangio and his press conference yesterday, there was an answer that if I didn't know Vic Fangio at all before today, right?
Okay.
And I met him at a bar and he said this, I would say, you know what? I've fallen in love with you.
I think that might have happened. Like, you could meet Vic Fangio in a bar, I bet.
I fell in love even more with Vic Fangio and something that he talked about yesterday in his coaching style that we'll talk about coming up at 7:10. Also, later on this hour, because we're so focused on the defense, I do want to say something about Jalen Hurts or react to something said about Jalen Hurts that you're all going to love. But let's reset the show. Here's what we got on the table today. You can text in. You can call in 610-632-0975. When it comes to the Phillies, the trade deadline 5 days away from now, if they don't make a move of note, they get that platoon player that's been rumored, right? They get a bullpen arm, but not Mason Miller because Bob Nightingale reporting yesterday with Kevin Cooney on Philly Sports Tonight that it looks like he's not even on the table and never was on the table. If they don't make a move of note, they don't make that splashy move, how are you feeling? Because I know a lot of you are already panicking about the Phillies because they haven't played their best baseball since London, the All-Star break, whatever you want to say. That's question number one. Question number two, or maybe this was the main topic. Vic Fangio, did he instill confidence in you yesterday, or did he add to your concern about how honest he was about the defense? I loved the honesty. I did. We all did, right? We love the
too.
honesty.
Yeah, I like it.
But he was honest about the defense not necessarily being, I guess, all that great.
Yes. He was candid. And look, I don't think it was that they're not all that great. I think it's that we got a hell of a lot of work to do.
Well, you're right.
And I think that's the message that he wanted to get across to everybody. We got a hell of a lot of work to do with this team. It's a long way to go. Long way to go.
And it's only July, right? Like
Yes.
they still have a month and a half.
Sure.
Right? They
Absolutely.
got time, and I'm glad that it's an old school approach of practice. I'm glad that practices are not just 45-minute walkthroughs like they were. Like, honestly, if Vic Fangio came here and it was still the same practice schedule as last year,
If it was kindergarten camp with Nick Sirianni.
I'd be terrified, honestly. But the fact that I know that they are practicing gives me confidence that he'll be able to fix some of these issues from last year, work in some guys, get guys better, get guys ready for the season. But let's play this Bryce Huff clip again, Connor, that we played in the beginning of the show. If you're just tuning in, we played a couple of clips about the defense where Vic Fangio was honest about the team. Here he is talking about the Eagles' biggest, biggest acquisition defensively. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was an acquisition, but we know him already. Here he is talking about Bryce Huff, and if the season started today, not really being ready for his new role.
Well, I think everybody thought he could, and knowing that the floor was just rush downs, but he's taken the challenge on very well, and I do think he has the talent to do what we want him to do. It's just he's got to get familiar with doing it. And so it will be a work in progress. Does he look like he could do it today? No, but I do think eventually he will.
All right. I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
It also concerns me.
It's got to concern you a little bit. But
Well, because
the thing
this is something
though,
that we were concerned about.
does that answer surprise you?
No, it's just not what I'm used to.
Correct.
What I'm used to is Sean Desai saying, "Oh, Bryce is great."
And your worst,
Jonathan Gannon, Nick Sirianni.
and you're used to Nick Sirianni word salad.
I don't know.
Right.
It kind of surprises me. From
Okay,
the thought,
tell me why.
The thought process of replacing Hassan Reddick with Bryce Huff. I know what's going on with Hassan in the contract situations, but like if you're going to make a change at that position, I do believe at some point this year Hassan Reddick is going to play football.
Yes, I do too.
I would have imagined that you brought in a guy that you felt very confident was ready to take this next step. And it sounds like Bryce Huff is more of a question mark than I imagined him being. Like, we make everything a question mark. That's kind of our job.
Right.
And that's also the job of this city and this fan base. We're very critical and questioning, which is a good way to be.
There's legit facts to back up the questions of Bryce Huff.
Absolutely. We're not creating stuff, but I'm just saying sometimes when we say, oh, there's a question mark on this player, I wonder if it's more from outside perspective. Hearing that, I think, man, this is the dude you're replacing Hassan Reddick with. I wish it was a cleaner shot.
You're surprised, but I don't think Vic Fangio gives a damn. Okay. I don't think Howie Roseman would say that. I don't think Nick Sirianni would say that because I think Nick Sirianni thinks everybody is the best player ever in football history.
He's always going to present them that way.
Right. But Vic Fangio, he doesn't care about Hassan Reddick. He wasn't the defensive coordinator of Hassan Reddick. I know he was on the staff 2 years ago as like some veteran consultant. But he's like, this is who I have.
I trust his evaluation. My question is, like, did Howie Roseman have higher expectations? Is Howie surprised to hear that? Or is Howie like, we know this guy's a project, but he's a shot in the dark that maybe we can recreate this guy in Hassan Reddick, the production? Like, I don't know. I assumed Howie had a little bit more ironclad of a plan when acquiring Bryce Huff, and that comment makes me feel like Howie's gambling more than I thought he was.
Okay. That's very rational. I'm not going to give you a compliment. That'd be 3 days in a row.
Hey, that's
I
what
think
you
that's
already
a
did.
that's a very rational way to look at it. That it obviously appears that Huff, I didn't buy in the media. He has to prove it to me.
Right.
But to me, the idea is that Howie maybe bet on the come a lot more than we expected. He's thinking a lot is to come with Bryce Huff,
and there might be
that I necessarily have not seen.
There might be still to come.
He's a great talent evaluator if he gets it right.
Yes,
I had questions from the beginning. That
you did.
You're counting on a guy who's never done it, who's never shown you that he can do it, to all of a sudden be able to do it.
I celebrated the move because I thought it was going to be on the other side of Hassan Reddick. And then obviously that trade happens, and it's not on the other side of Hassan Reddick. It's on the other side of a guy who disappears for half the season in Josh Sweat.
And now it shows that despite what Hassan Reddick says, he wasn't showing up if he didn't have a new contract. Howie did not want the distraction. For a team that has a chance to go to the Super Bowl, now the Jets have it.
Right.
Now that he's the Jets' distraction.
But the Eagles' chance to get to a Super Bowl, you need your defense to play well, and there's obviously questions on the defense. Let's play one more. Here's that linebacker clip that we played earlier today. If you missed it, he was talking about the linebackers that will be in play for starting jobs, and he basically just named all of them.
I like Zach. He's a guy that's played very little inside linebacker in his career. We think he can do it. Obviously, Devin's had a career where he has done it. Nakobe, has shown that he can do it in college. Really hadn't had the opportunity to do it here because his first year he was behind two good players, and last year he was injured. Same thing with Trotter, Ben, Orn. They're all in the mix, really.
I love that answer too.
I do too.
And I love how he said about. And look, I'm a fan of Nakobe Dean. Anybody who listens knows that I am. I love the fact because I think that's a little bit of a tweak of Nakobe Dean. Yeah, Nakobe's done it in college.
Yeah, he just hasn't done it
We
here.
haven't seen it here. Hey, it's great.
Yeah, don't forget he was given the green dot on day one of camp last year.
Absolutely.
Which was amazing.
And that's Sean Desai. And I think young players, young coaches, many times try to curry favors with players. They're worried about players liking them.
Maybe.
I think that anointing players early, like a Blankenship, like a Nakobe Dean, was a sign of young coaches wanting to get everybody on their side. We want everybody to like us and buy into what we're doing.
Yeah.
He doesn't give one flip.
No, he doesn't.
Who buys in or not.
So when you hear those clips, he's very honest, which we all appreciate.
Yes.
Does that instill confidence that you believe him being honest will help players get better? Or does it instill more concern for you that you already had when it comes to the defense? Would love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. And if the Phillies don't make a move of note, how are you feeling? What do we got in the text line, Connor? And then I want to play you another clip from Vic Fangio that I absolutely freaking loved.
Jay from Westchester checks in and says, this inspires confidence for sure. If I'm on that defensive unit for the Eagles, Vic just lit a fire under my ass. Our defense is young, competing, and hungry for contracts. If I'm any of those guys, I need a coach that pushes me to be great.
Yeah, and I think he's the right guy for this job.
There's no question in my mind. I love this hire.
Yes.
I love the hire. But I think it's going to be, and I said it before, I think the defense is going to have a bumpy ride this year. If we're thinking this is going to be some smooth transition where we're going to come in and go, wow, it's night and day from last year, I don't think we're going to see that.
Right.
I think we're going to see people going that will do the knee-jerk, well, what's Vic Fangio doing? I'm not seeing much improvement here. Ridiculous. This is a work in progress.
Oh, it absolutely is.
And I think they'll be significantly better, especially, too, with like a Sidney Brown coming back later on and everything.
Right.
I think we're going to see this team be considerably better by Thanksgiving.
And 30-16 or 15 or 14, that is considerably better. It's literally, you jumped half the league.
Right?
From last year. Like, we're not saying considerably better has to be a top 5 defense. You just have to be half better, right, than what you were last year.
And I honestly, I do believe, I think that'll be enough.
It should be. As long as this offense is moving, which we expect it to, and you'll hear about Jalen Hurts coming up later on this segment, or later on this hour around 7:30. This offense should be moving better this year.
Oh, it should be significantly better.
Absolutely.
Which should give this defense time to roll into shape.
Oh, yeah.
Now, let's see what happens. You got some offenses that are going to push you in the beginning of the year.
Oh, yeah, of course.
A couple of them.
Green Bay and Atlanta
I think Green
right
Bay
away.
I think Green Bay and Atlanta.
It's going to be.
I'm not as worried about Tampa and New Orleans. Their offense is just
neither am I.
pressuring you to nowhere.
Not your boy Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, I know. I thought you were
I
all
like Baker Mayfield,
up.
but I'm not worried about Baker Mayfield putting up 40 on you. If you are, we're in big trouble.
Right.
You're right.
Then
Yes.
we're in big trouble. All right. Another thing from Vic yesterday that I love. This has nothing to do with instilling confidence in individual players on the defense. So this is a right in my wheelhouse answer on a question / topic that I despise, and it's about the usage of analytics.
Okay.
Now, I have said this before. I believe analytics is a very helpful tool. Okay? I think you're also a tool if you only believe in the life of analytics. Remember that conversation we had the other day about like war, like statistics, all that kind of stuff? I was told that I don't know baseball because I did not have Chase Utley ahead of Ryan Howard.
See, that's not why you don't know baseball.
I was told I don't know baseball.
There's other reasons.
Because I don't have Chase Utley ahead of Ryan Howard because Chase Utley's WAR was like 5 times as higher than Ryan Howard.
Which is freaking stupid, but it's okay.
In 2008, when Ryan Howard led the league in home runs and RBI, he had a below average WAR. Ryan Howard in 2008, the leader in home runs and RBI and the biggest part of your offense in which you won the World Series, stunk, according to that statistic that a lot of people like to quote, right?
You know who does? It's honestly, it's that who's based, because I've said it to you before. I don't know how many baseball people that I will speak to, guys, executive types that will just roll their eyes at some of these advanced stats. This is the way, because fans talk about them like they're this thing that baseball uses. They use it as a tool.
Right.
They don't make their decisions by it.
Well, in football, there are decisions made by it. Like the go for it probability.
Sure.
Remember Doug Peterson had the green chart, yellow chart, red chart. That's the weather. I'm sure all coaches have it at this point. But it's the go for it chart.
Yeah,
right?
his whole chart was green.
Right.
And by the way, for the most part, I love that chart.
Yeah.
For the most part.
It makes sense.
I loved it.
But analytics doesn't understand feel. Like I still remember, and I went on a rant about it a couple of years ago. They went for 2 in a situation when the offense hadn't been moving all day. They go for 2, and they threw it to a guy who never had a reception. His name was like Harrison Butler or something like that. He's in the AFL nowadays or something. He's not even in the NFL.
Not to be confused with Harrison Butker.
Correct. This guy never had a catch in his life. They ran a hot route play for him. He was the only option. It was a fade in the corner of the end zone, which is considered actually one of the worst plays to throw nowadays. They ran a fade route to a player that did not have a single reception in his career on a 2-point conversion that would have made it if they just kicked the extra point, it's a 1-score game. Instead, it's now a 2-score game because they didn't convert. Like, analytics like that piss me off because they don't understand the feel of a game, a feel of a team. Here's Vic Fangio talking about his usage of analytics.
I love analytics. Give me anything you want, and I'll sort through it and use it as I see fit. But I've been doing analytics myself, my own way, for years, and I don't share my process with anybody, and even fellow coaches. So I believe in analytics. I think analytics people miss the boat a little bit on what's important, but I'm not going to tell them what's important. I do it myself.
I love that.
I love that too, because
You're the man, Vic.
the vast majority, and I know this in baseball for fact, we could ask Dave Dombrowski otherwise, all those advanced analytic statistics are almost uniformly made up by people who have never played, managed, or executived the game to any kind of level. So it's just somebody sitting there with a slide rule and a computer program saying, well, this is what we think. I love the fact that Vic Fangio says, look, I'll listen to it.
Yeah, he uses it.
I'll listen to it. I'll use it because, look, you look at it and you say, I'm going to take a look at everything. But then I'll make a decision as a football guy.
Right.
And not just like you and Connor as football guys. Brian Snitker of the Braves, old school manager. His son is the analytics guy for the head for the Astros.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, my kid does it for a living. I'll look at everything. I'll talk about anything.
Right.
But I'm going to manage a baseball game the way it has to be managed. I think Vic Fangio is that way.
Like, I don't think analytics should tell you whether or not you should call a blitz.
Yes.
I don't think it should because
No, you're right.
Let's say it's third and 9, right? Oh, sticks, right? You just cover the sticks. Don't bring pressure here. What if you've sacked the quarterback the previous 2 plays?
What if you were playing, for example, the 2023 Eagles?
Right, exactly.
You're going to blitz them every single
Your
day.
team has 70 sacks, right? Like that's my thing. Like analytics should not be used as an end-all, be-all. Like you should be able to have a feel for a game.
Analytics are a hammer. You're not going to build an entire house with a hammer.
Right.
It's going to be an important part of what you do. But if you use it for everything, you're an idiot.
Okay, gosh. Connor, you're blowing me away this week.
But
That's a great analogy.
Right.
It's a great analogy.
But there are people that will say, and mainly not necessarily sports fans. There are sports fans that live and die by analytics, but
Yes.
there are people in sports that live and die that will tell you the hammer will be enough.
No, there's not. They will.
Matt Klentak would.
They're going to tell you.
Matt
the
Klentak
hammer.
ran
What's he
this-
doing these days?
Exactly. But for a span of 4 years, when he was the general manager of this Phillies team, all it was analytics. That's all he cared about.
If you ever, I don't know if you ever watched that. I forget what documentary it is or whatever. The person who came up with launch angle, in baseball. I swear to you, this guy didn't play. He didn't play like probably past 10-year-old baseball.
Right? Maybe.
I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
but statistically, I can show you
And
where somebody
he was
swings.
probably a physician,
And
right?
it's just
physics
Physicist,
principal.
And
right? Yeah,
people
exactly.
bought into it. Baseball people, many of them bought it. The Klentaks of the world bought into that
Dude,
crap.
one of the worst things for baseball was freaking Moneyball.
Terrible. And by the way,
great movie.
It was a fake story.
Great movie,
Completely
though.
false.
Great movie.
Because you watch it and you go, oh, how come we're not talking about Zito and Mulder and the
Right,
best,
yeah, exactly.
and Hudson?
They had a ridiculous pitching staff.
Zito, Mulder,
They
and
ignored
Hudson.
that, right?
Can you tell us that we had 3 cheap options that were 3 of the best young pitchers in the game? But that doesn't even really get mentioned in the movie.
No, it does
was
not get.
stupid
You're
movie.
spot on that one.
Stupid.
All right, so we would love to hear from you today. When it comes to Vic Fangio, his honesty about the defense and the players that aren't necessarily ready, not knowing who starters are just yet, right? I think competition is a great thing, and I love it. But the way he spoke about Bryce Huff, if the season were to start today, he's not ready to be a 3-down lineman. When you hear him talk about the linebackers and everybody's in the running for a starting job, as Amy Fadul said yesterday, sometimes more is less because that means that you don't have a surefire starter on that defense when it comes to linebacker, which is already a concern for a lot of people. Did Vic Fangio instill confidence in you, or more concern when it comes to the defense? Would love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. And if the Phillies don't make a splashy move, how are we feeling? That's all I want to know from you. How are you feeling? Coming up next, we get more of your text messages. Question out of the hat, which I keep on forgetting to get to, Connor. And also, Dave Zangaro was on with Bob and Amy yesterday. He said something about Jalen Hurts that you're going to love to hear.
Good.
We'll play that next on Kincade Salciunas on this Fanatic Friday, 97.5 The Fanatic. talking about Vic Fangio and his honesty yesterday, which we all appreciate, but did it add to your concern? I think so.
We all do. Do you think the audience does?
I guess that's a question.
Because I believe a lot of people don't like it.
So what? They would have rather be told that everybody's going to be an all-pro?
I know, but I think they worry about what's the reaction going to be when he says something not so positive about a player. I really do. I think there's a lot of people in our audience that would be like, that's too brutally honest.
And I'll tell you, I think that's a valid concern, only because of what happened in Miami. We had questions about.
I ripped the Miami players.
Okay, you might, but that doesn't mean they're different than the Eagles players. Whether they're right or wrong, if the Eagles players don't agree with the way they're being coached, it could create a bad situation.
Yes. I mean, it could very well be. It could end up being a problem.
You know what's interesting? I didn't even think about it potentially being a problem. So, would love to hear from you. Text line, phone line, 610-632-0975. Do you actually appreciate the honesty? I guess I'm looking at this too one-sided because I freaking love it.
Well, sometimes we look at things, especially in sports talk radio, we look at things as how we appreciate it as talk show hosts because we knew yesterday there were 3 different times you looked at me or I looked at you where we know, okay, we can do something with that.
We can use that one tomorrow.
We can do something with that. We can get some of that. I think a lot of people look at it and go, boy, you expect a little more positivity out of your defensive coordinator. You expect a little more warm and fuzzy. These are today's athletes. Maybe he's going to rub them the wrong way.
Man.
And he did in Miami last year, a group of them.
Right.
He did. Supposedly led by Jalen Ramsey.
Yes.
Telling the younger players, hey, this isn't how it's been done in the past with me. This isn't how I've seen it different.
Bit of a diva.
And if Jalen Ramsey's a diva.
Bit of a diva.
And Jalen Ramsey's been through, I think, 2 different coaches in his career, and then maybe 3. So for him, he's affecting the young players because they're going to fall in line behind Jalen Ramsey.
Right, of course. A guy that's a Super Bowl champion, all-pro.
And Jalen Ramsey had problems with him from the very beginning.
Right.
By the way, we saw, they said that there was a call-out of Jalen Carter on the first day.
Yeah, Devin White told the
Publicly.
story. Yeah.
That happened to Jalen Ramsey.
And Ramsey didn't necessarily respond well to it.
That's not the way I've been taught before.
Right.
That's not the way that, in fact, you said it before. Wade Phillips didn't do stuff like that.
Right.
That's so.
I'm not a professional athlete. I know I was pretty close, but I'm not a professional athlete, believe it or not. I've had 4 different program directors at this station.
Right.
And I don't think any of them have done the same thing.
Yeah, they won't. I mean, and the thing is,
and I'll listen to call me a sheep. I listen to management. Because I think they all have.
Nah, but you're coachable, dude. Like that's.
I guess is that what it is?
Yeah.
Like
some people are.
I think that there's a bottom line of DNA that works between certain people. I personally have said to every boss I've ever had, can you help to get me paid?
Right.
And that may sound to some people as being sort of flippant, but I'm like, are you going to tell me something that's going to help to get me paid, help me to advance my career? Because I'm all ears.
Right.
There's certain things. I'm the dog that waits for Nikki wants her treats from 3 Dog Bakery. Got to check it out. So she wants her treats. So Nikki will do whatever it takes to get her treat. I'm sort of like that as an employee. Show me ways.
You'll do it. Yeah.
Show me ways you can get me paid. If I see that your ways work, I'll be your biggest disciple.
But I guess there's some people that aren't like that.
And I think that is.
I know people outside of sports that are like that. Like it's not just
Yes.
on the playing field. I do get that.
There are people who push back just for the sake of pushing back in life, and I can spot them a mile away.
And
They're going to constantly push back on anything they're told, anything they're taught. And the thing is, look, maybe that's been successful for them.
It could have been, yeah.
And everybody is different, as they say.
And I guess because I'm not like that, I haven't even thought about maybe there are Eagles fans that don't like the way Vic Fangio speaks and is honest and is old school and says he doesn't know what swagger is. And I don't know, like, do people like the young, enthusiastic coach more than the the greasy vet. But as you
Not
said,
on defense.
Yeah, I was about
Well,
to say,
in
as
this
you
town,
said, in this
look,
town, man.
Look, Bud Carson, back in the day of Dick Vermeil, the Swamp Fox, Marion Campbell, Bud Carson, Buddy Ryan,
Yeah,
Jim
these guys
Johnson.
are celebrated.
They were all end of their career guys that came to this town,
Right.
coached defense, and didn't give a flip,
right.
and were.
So I would imagine that he would fit perfectly.
He
Like
fits
that's why I don't
perfectly.
even think
Right.
about. That's why I didn't even think about the opposite.
Yeah, but you know what though? All of those guys that I rattled off to you, when I say Buddy Ryan, if I say Marion Campbell, if I say those, I'm talking about things that are history book items for you.
Right.
Yeah.
The majority of the fan base now didn't experience any of those.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But I think there is this natural inclination. Like, at least for me, I do not want a defensive coordinator of my football team that I wouldn't be scared to have a conversation with. Like, I want a guy that makes me nervous when I'm around
honestly,
him.
dude, like defensive coordinator, I want him to be a hard ass.
Exactly.
Like a baseball manager, don't necessarily want him to be a hard ass because it's a 162 game season. Like I don't, Buck Showalter, hard ass, right? And what happened with the Mets? That clubhouse, that was supposed to be that was going to be the big year, and they won 100 games
Right.
for 1 year.
They did.
and
then
head
it
coach
falls
maybe
off
medium
after that.
ass. Like,
Well,
offensive coordinator soft.
You know
like,
what Vic Fangio is, Connor? Vic Fangio is John Tortorella with the Flyers press.
Seems
Love
like
that.
it, yeah.
He's Vic Fangio is going to go, if a member of the media, by the way, stop making statements, ask questions. Just a little basic journalism. So when they come and they supposedly asking him a question and they make a statement, he's going to shoot it full of holes if they're wrong. And if Tortorella does that and you got media members clutching their pearls, he's so mean. The guy's just mean and rough, and he's going to burn out the locker room. Now, his players in the locker room don't say that,
Well,
but the media members
the
do.
Miami Dolphins did.
Last
they
year.
did.
Last year, Jalen Ramsey led it.
Okay.
And if you watch that Miami Dolphins thing, you can tell.
I don't know who
Jalen Ramsey didn't like the immediate feedback. Like some people don't like immediate feedback.
Right.
Wait, give me the feedback afterwards. I got to tell you, if there's something that I'm doing that a boss would say or a coach would say, give me the feedback like
but
as
that's
soon as
you.
possible.
That's you.
Yes, and that's the difference.
Let's say
is
the
that.
same position. I'm not saying Darius Slay is Jalen's Ramsey. Same position though. What if he rips Darius Slay? Darius Slay's a vet in that locker room.
I think the same thing could happen.
and maybe a lot. Well, I don't know. I don't know how Darius Slay is.
Darius doesn't seem like he seems like a guy. How about this? There's documented evidence multiple times in his Eagle career that when things get pointed in his direction, he points at somebody else.
He deflects. So
to me, I wouldn't think he'd enjoy it.
right. So what if it happened
That's
here?
what I'm saying. It could.
it's just a thought that we need to run through. I think
honestly, I haven't even thought about it. So good for you guys for thinking about it. I haven't even thought about
I
it.
think most Eagles fans, like maybe even 90%, would say, hey, I love this. But we're also looking at it from a fan perspective. I do think there's a portion of the fan base that still looks at what happened in Miami and says, should we be a little bit more worried than we are that could happen here? I just think it's part of the conversation.
I think it's part. I think it's part of it, and we're not sounding alarms on it.
No,
and by the
no,
way,
no.
the three of us love it.
Yeah, that's why.
But I don't
That's
know-
why I haven't even thought about
But
it.
I don't, and the three of us at different points in life love it. But I know that every sports fan in town would really love it. I'm not even sure that the majority would love it.
All right, then chime in on that. 610-632-0975. You can text and call. I do believe the majority love it.
Okay.
I do believe that the majority of love Vic Fangio and the way he handles himself and the way he speaks about players. I think the majority of people do like it. But it might be a higher percentage of people that don't that I even expected because I didn't even think about it. And you guys brought it up. So let's talk about it with you guys on the phones and the text line 610-632-0975. But I do want to play this. Other side of the ball, Jalen Hurts. So far, through 2 days of camp, it sounds like things are going well, right?
It does sound that way.
Again, training camp, don't want to make too much of it, but this is something I will make a lot of. Dave Zangaro was on with the midday show yesterday with Bob and Amy, and he talked about how Jalen Hurts looks faster.
But also, a big part of it is just Jalen Hurts. I think the quarterback is playing really well right now. He looks healthy. He looks fast. That's another thing. I mean, he looks really good throwing the football, but he's been running really well. You kind of forget how fast this guy is when he's healthy. There was one play today. It was kind of a delayed QB draw, and you see him get to open up a little bit, and you're going, man, where was that last year? It looks like a different guy right now, and that's encouraging. That's exciting because
look, the knee injury that we don't. I still remember it was
the injury or just sore.
No, the guy on Glazer. On Fox.
Right.
I remember when
Jay Glazer randomly reported that it was a bone bruise in his knee. And thank God it wasn't something that needed surgery, but bone bruises are finicky, right? Like a bone bruise could be worse for somebody. I heard they're nasty. Like I heard they can be really like that inactivity when you have any area of inactivity, like where you're sleeping or something like that. When you get going the next day, it's like, like someone's spearing.
Dude, I had a bruised rib in high school. Sneezing, I almost cried. It wasn't even broken. It was just a bruised rib. So
you were a little bit of a wussy.
Yeah, of course.
But it's okay.
I can imagine a bruised knee when you're trying to cut, when you're trying to plant, when you're trying to throw, might be hard to deal with. And
doesn't a bruise heal though?
Well, not if you keep getting smoked.
Hit. Yeah, exactly.
Getting smoked.
He got sacked a lot.
I didn't see him getting smoked in his knee.
I don't know that the tush push is the best thing for bruised knee.
And John, you're not getting tackled.
Right, exactly.
You know, these guys, he's getting hit by 300-pound linemen.
What also, too, I've heard from enough people is that when you see the dog pile, there's crap going on in that.
All
there's
the
crap
time.
going on in
some
that dog
dudes in
pile
there
that you're not
rabbit punching
seeing.
his knee.
Yeah, you're not on there, and they're going for the nuggets
Remember
too.
his face mask got pulled off, his neck got pulled, and there was no 15-yard penalty. It was on the goal line, so it would have been an automatic first down.
People don't talk about it. Football's a bit of a violent
it's a bit of a
That's
violent
very
sport.
good. Yeah, people aren't talking about that far and wide, Colin.
But I find that as a huge positive that it looks like, and look, it could change come week 6. He could get dinged up again, but I find that as a huge positive because I remember last year, early on, he looked slow.
He did.
To hear
he
that
looked cautious almost.
Yeah. To hear that he's looking fast already, 2 days of training camp, and he's not going to get touched in camp, obviously, and who knows if he even plays in the preseason. Hearing that he's moving quicker already this year and maybe everything's fully healed.
Sounds good to me.
That's a great sign, man, because he's going to be utilized in this offense. He's going to be used to run the football still. I'll read something from Dave Zangaro. That was the clip from the midday show. I read one of his stories this morning on NBC Sports Philadelphia. I'll get it to you later on the show. They're going to use him a lot in the running game. Be ready. Kellen Moore is going to use him in the running game.
I got to put this way. I haven't seen that a ton out of his quarterbacks, but maybe he hasn't had a quarterback that he's seen that Jalen Hurts' skill set.
Yeah, I mean, Hurts is moving better than Herbert.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, and Dak, too.
Yeah.
Dak is a good quarterback on the move, but it's not where you're doing a bunch of designs.
No shot Jalen Hurts. Dak has a better arm. So maybe
much better, right.
Maybe you're not going to use him to run because you can use him to throw a lot better. All right, coming up next, we get your reaction to our topics. Do you not like the personality of Vic Fangio? I didn't even think about it. But clearly there were issues in Miami last year. Would love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. And I got to get to a question out of the hat. Remind me, question out of the hat. Coming up next, Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Guess the most
And I turned around. No, I grabbed my smoothie because it's football.
Oh, that's good.
It's
is
football season. So
smoothie time.
I still believe in the Chip Kelly
Where
smoothies.
was it? In Idaho?
It was in the kitchen, and then I got lost. And, here I am today. That's the first time I've ever done that.
So you're going down the shore today. I'm going. Then you have a concert, and I'm going to Scranton tomorrow.
Yes,
I'll be in North Wildwood tomorrow.
Connor's going down the shore.
We'll be all over it.
We're on the move. Kincade Salciunas is on the move.
I'll be at the Pine Hills Country Club if anybody has ever played it.
That's awesome. Enjoy yourself,
we'll
man.
have a good time.
All right, so we're talking a lot about the Eagles today. Vic Fangio spoke yesterday, first time since training camp started, and he was very, very honest about the defense, which we appreciate. At least I thought, until you brought up, maybe people don't appreciate it all that much.
Yeah, maybe. There's people. I never assume that in today, I never assume that you're completely in touch with what somebody that is 20, 30, or 40 is thinking. Because I think that the world has very different people. Now, you guys, I think you both in your own way are old school.
Yes.
You are definitely an older soul. Sometimes I think you're older than me.
Yeah.
But it's like you have an old school mentality.
I can't. I'm sorry. Is there somebody really? I don't want to be offensive because, again, it's 2024. I don't want to be offensive. Is there somebody actually at their office, at home, in the car, listening to the press conference yesterday of an old school defensive coordinator that has had success in the NFL?
Absolutely.
With a defense that we all have questions of. Like, nobody's sitting here saying that Bryce Huff is Reggie White, right? Like, he's a guy that you have severe questions about because he wasn't a 3-down lineman and you paid him $17 million, right? Was there anybody in their car, office, house, whatever, grocery store going, oh, my God, Vic better cool it. He's getting that's a little too much for me. Like, seriously?
No.
I believe there. I do think there probably were.
There can't be.
I don't think there were many.
It's football.
But it's not just that press conference. One of the questions we're asking is about like that straight up blunt nature of how he's approaching things. I'll tell you, when I played, I didn't like to be coached hard. I liked my coach to be very nice to me, supportive and stuff like that.
God.
Some people, what do you mean, come on? Are we not going to pretend like there are people who like different styles of coaching?
There are people that like different styles of coaching.
What did you find negative about it?
I didn't need to be told to work hard. Like, I didn't need to be told what I was doing wrong. I knew all that stuff.
Dude, there are some people that do need to be told.
I understand. So there's different types of people. And because we like the way Vic Fangio's approaching it, doesn't mean that, one, we didn't legitimately just hear concerns about him in the last place he coached, and two, those players couldn't possibly exist on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Thing is, though, Connor, do you ever think, and I'm sure you probably have thought this out, I always coached my best players the hardest.
Yeah, and obviously I was the best player, so I get it.
Because everybody else fell into line. If you were going after the thing, and there were times when I told, like I had a kid, Jason Fallon out there, was my like best player I ever coached in my mind, as far as embodying everything he wanted. And I would say to him sometimes, I am getting after your ass tonight. Just so you know.
Yeah, dude, listen.
And then everybody else would see me go, hey, how'd you look the other night in that game against Bonner? That was a terrible effort on your
There might
part.
be a reason why Jalen Carter was singled out.
And that could
it's
be.
the young, everybody thinks is the best player on the defense. It may have been strategic by Vic Fangio. I don't know. But I can't imagine that there might be somebody that's like, oh, I don't like this.
I
can't imagine it.
No, you have to imagine it.
No, I'm saying a fan. I'm not talking about a player. Like, I'm not Jalen Carter.
Yeah,
believe it or not.
I understand more what you're saying with the fan base. And John, also, your point is absolutely right. And there's a chance of Vic Fangio, with his 4,000 years of experience, knows this and says, damn the torpedoes, I'm going to do it anyway.
Isn't it man the torpedoes?
No, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
There you go.
Is the quote. But he might just say, screw it, I'm going to do it anyway. And I know it might bother some people, but if we have the right guys in this room, then we're going to do it. Or if I handle it the right way, ultimately they'll come around. I'm just saying, like, this would not be a conversation if the Miami Dolphins part of the equation didn't exist.
And look, that's fair because it literally happened last year. We're not going to 10, 15 years ago. We're going to last year, and it's 2023. Society's changed from 10, 15 years ago. So I get it. All this, I understand where you're coming from. I just can't believe there's actually an Eagles fan out there that would go, ooh, man, I didn't like hearing that. What if,
yeah.
oh, wait. He called out Jalen Carter? How is Jalen Carter going to respond?
I promise
he
you
better
this.
freaking respond well. It's training camp. It's football. Get to work.
Don't worry about Nakobe, Jalen, or anything because
Right.
I honestly, they were dog cussed every single day in the weight room, otherwise, they're used to it. They're used to it. They're not
All
having
right.
a problem.
All right. Would love to get your reaction. You could text in at 610-632-0975. Give us a random question out of the hat on this beautiful Fanatic Friday.
All right, man, the hat's a little dusty. Let me just go ahead and reach. We haven't used it in like 2
That's
seconds.
that Wawa hat.
2 segments. We haven't used it
or
all
2 hours.
all show.
Yep.
Your all-time I was wrong sports moment. Andrew, yours could be right now about the trade deadline if you want.
No, because I'm always right. More talent is better.
I said a Hall of Famer would not make it in the NBA.
Jeez.
Tim Duncan. Absolutely thought Tim Duncan didn't have. I thought he was going to get eaten alive in the NBA.
Big fundamental, man.
And boy, did it fall apart. Boy, did that fall apart fairly early.
Yeah, that one wasn't your
That
best.
was pretty bad. That was, and I mean, I watched him in the ACC. Was down there in in SEC, ACC country. Watched him play at Wake Forest and just said, I didn't see it. I couldn't translate, and I thought he was soft in the ACC, and I thought he was going to get eaten alive. And Tim Duncan said, screw you, you idiot. What do you know?
This is hard because I put a ton of stock into Ben Simmons. A ton of it.
You did. I remember hearing some of it.
A ton of it. And would argue all the time on his behalf. And it's not because I loved Ben Simmons the person. He seemed like a J.O. from the beginning. But what that guy had, the ability that guy had.
Well, do you
I
consider
thought
yourself
that guy
do you
was a
consider
lock.
yourself wrong on him? Because there's no way you could have looked at his skill set and said, well, I guess
That's what I'm
the
saying.
same
It's
thing.
hard.
Yeah, I guess
it's
the
hard.
same thing.
I didn't know what was up here and
Right.
in here, the brain and the heart. I didn't know
I got
about that stuff.
Similar one, which is hard to evaluate. Like, I defended Carson Wentz tooth and nail for years after the Super Bowl.
You saw the arm strength, and you
Yeah.
saw what he did before he got injured.
I know, but
And
at
now
the
he's
same
got
time,
Brandon Marsh. Now Brandon Marsh has moved into that territory for you.
Nah, well, easy. That I don't think I'm on that one yet. We're a long way away from determining where that one goes. But
All right,
like,
I'll give
it's tough.
It is tough. I'll give you one, and I still don't know if I am technically wrong
All right.
because he's been fantastic in his situation. I think it's played out perfectly for both teams. I wanted Machado over Harper.
So did I.
I wanted a right-handed power bat that, remember, he was still, playing shortstop at the time. He was there was a chance that he would move to shortstop. He was playing third with the Baltimore Orioles. That dude in Baltimore was electric. He has been great for the Padres.
He's been great.
I don't know if he fits in Philly. I don't know if Harper fits in San Diego. I think it's played out perfectly for them individually and for both cities and both teams. But I originally wanted Manny Machado.
Were you Harper or Machado, Connor? Overall, where did you lean more?
I think there was a point where we thought both might be an option. And
That
I
was never gonna happen.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't, but
What did you pick?
It's very hard
at the
to
time.
tell.
What did you do?
I think it's revisionist. I want to say Harper, but I got to be honest. I don't really.
I
remember.
was team
I wasn't
Machado.
doing this.
Machado.
Remember, I wasn't in the industry at the time.
Right.
So.
And look,
You were just
I
being
wasn't
annoying.
I wasn't
Yes.
anti-Harper. It was just I
exactly.
preferred Manny Machado. And I'm glad it's worked out the way that it has for the Phillies. Maybe that's what it is. Who knows? We'll continue the conversation. We have today's headlines with Connor Thomas at 8:05 and Kellen Moore. I want to talk about something that you're worried about with your superhero, Kellen Moore. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Payday Friday morning. 97.5 The Fanatic. We have today's headlines with Connor Thomas coming up at 8:05. After that, I want to talk about your concern with Kellen Moore. Your one, because you might have a picture of him in your house.
I'm a fanboy of Kellen Moore, and the more that I dove down that rabbit hole, I've become a bigger fan.
Okay. But there's one thing that concerns you.
Yes.
The time of possession.
I give him an F for it. I think that it has also contributed to his teams not winning when it matters most.
Okay.
Time of possession has hurt them in playoff games.
All right.
That I think giving up late long drives, the defense being worn down, it's something that I'm going to be watching.
All right. And
Kellen, that doesn't mean that I'm being ultra critical of it.
We'll talk about it around 8:10.
Sounds good.
Because I have a clip for you from Tim McManus yesterday talking about what he's seen so far in training camp.
Good.
And you'll find out whether or not things will change or not with the Kellen Moore
I like
offense.
hearing that, and I trust Tim McManus.
All right.
That's good.
So we'll play that come up at 8:10. All right, so we have texts coming in, Connor, on today's discussions. If you're just tuning in, here's what we've got into today. Vic Fangio, very honest during his press conference yesterday. Did that instill confidence or more concern when it comes to the defense for you? And then that led to a conversation this past segment that I was amazed that we even had, but I guess I'm so caught in my own sight of view on things. I love that he's honest. I love that he's hard-nosed. I'm somebody who likes constructive criticism. Maybe I'm an old school guy.
As long as it's delivered in the right way.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Look, I've had bosses that have just yelled just to yell, and I start putting on I put on the mute.
My
ears.
listening ears are not on.
I'm out. You know what I mean? Like if you're yelling at me all the time, then I'm not going to freaking listen anymore. But if you can have a legit conversation with me, and I like that kind of stuff. I didn't even think that maybe Eagles fans might not like it. You guys brought it up, so let's talk about it. And then when it comes to the Phillies, if they don't make a splashy move, how are we feeling? Speaking of feelings, because I know a lot of you are already panicking about this team. What do we have on the text line today, Connor?
Miz from Northeast checks in, says, personally, I prefer the honest, straightforward approach. Don't appease me and say everything is lollipops and rainbows when we could see it's not, or when we could see that certain players are struggling, because now I'll feel like I'm lied to. Admitting it's a work in progress, like Vic Fangio did yesterday, lets us know that you see the flaws and you're hoping that you and the players can address them as quickly as possible.
I love that answer. And I hope a lot of people feel that way. Like, I hope people don't want their defensive coordinator to tell us that Zach Bond is playing a new position and, oh, my God, he looks like Brian Urlacher. I don't need to hear that.
Like, have you ever heard Nick Sirianni really be critical of a player?
No, I've heard reporters say that he gets into it with players during practice.
Correct.
But have you ever heard once with Derek Barnett?
But have you ever heard him that was a mic'd up moment, and then he even tried to backtrack.
He did try to backtrack
when he was, that's not what I meant. That's not what I said. Sure it is.
Right.
And guess what? Everybody in the fan base agreed with you, Nick. Like there was no problem.
Yeah.
I think, but maybe a head coach has to do things differently than a position coach.
Maybe
a position coach can do it because I promise you this: Jeff Stoutland, it's colorful.
Didn't Vic Fangio used to be a head coach?
He was. He was in Denver, and people thought he was too blunt. They thought he was too blunt. So.
I find that crazy. But look, if there are people that feel that way, let us know. 610-632-0975. We'll get to more text messages coming up, but it's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Hello, Connor.
Hello, boys. We
Hello.
had some big sports news yesterday in this city that we didn't really get into. An interesting move by the Philadelphia Flyers. So we're going to start with this. Travis Konechny signs an 8-year, $70 million extension. Looks like he's here for the long haul with the Philadelphia Flyers. We haven't really got into it because obviously training camp and the Phillies and trade deadline. But what are your guys' thoughts on TK signing this deal when people believed maybe for the past couple of years he could have been a trade deadline mover or could have been this year?
I like him a lot. And that down year that he had, and you could speak to this better than I can, I think the whole team just kind of sucked.
Yes.
The whole team was horrible. He seems like a guy that you would love to have on your team, and you would absolutely hate if he was playing against you. And I love guys like that.
I love that he's here. I love the deal. Anybody who's worried about the money, I'm not trying to be flippant with you. If you're obsessing on the money, you don't understand how the NHL salary cap works. There's going to be an explosion of money coming. And so I would have no concerns about what they decided to pay him either.
Does it say anything to you about like Michkov coming over, the window of contention for this team, or the length of the deal kind of opens you up to still stay online with where they were planning?
Yeah, I think it's the long-term build. I think it's the long-term plan.
I don't think this changes anything.
I don't think it changes anything. And I love it that they got the deal done.
And oh, by the way, I think having a rebuild with guys that have been here is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like,
to some extent.
Yeah, like having a veteran. I mean, all of a sudden he's a veteran, right? Like having a veteran presence is a good thing. It's like Tyrese Maxey. All of a sudden Tyrese Maxey's a veteran, right? He's in his fifth year, and he's the second longest tenured player on the Sixers roster. Like it's crazy. I think guys that are here, as long as they're playable, like it's hard to win in hockey, right? It is. So like having just one guy on your team isn't going to do anything for you. So Travis Konechny being here for this time, I think it's good for the rest of the team, especially the young players coming up.
I just think this team is going to be so much better in the long term having a guy like him as a part of it.
Fair enough. Well, that's our news on the Travis Konechny front. Now, I have to ask you guys a question here before we start this next one. Parlez-vous français? Because Joel Embiid and Team USA have made their way to Paris.
Yes, they have.
Embiid didn't have the warmest welcome, folks.
I'm not surprised.
We're going to need to put your translating hats on for this one, but I'll tell you what they say here.
Joël, rends ton passeport, hein. Rends ton passeport, Joël, hein. C'est pour la France. Va aller jouer en France, hein. T'es pas américain, gros.
So you may have heard passport.
Passport.
And perform in May.
So
I think one guy said,
that was
would
not.
you perform in May one time?
I knew I shouldn't have given you guys the liberties to translate. No, it did have something to do with the passport, and it was fans in Paris telling Embiid to give back his passport, being that he has French citizenship, and also you should have played for France.
And he was begging just a year and a half ago to play for France and was willing to sign a document guaranteeing that he would play for France and nobody else.
Would you play for France?
No, but the thing is, he was willing to a year and a half ago. He was willing to get a guaranteed spot by signing to play for France. That's why, please, him in the flag for me.
Well, now he's
like,
good.
Just
now he's
say
good
he
enough
wanted
for
to
the
I
play
don't
in the
understand why it bothers you so
No,
much.
just say
It bothers you way too much.
No, just say he wanted to play in the Olympics. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's great.
that's
But
kinda what
don't
he
wrap
said.
it in the flag stuff because he was willing to sign a document just less than 2 years ago saying, if you'll give me a guaranteed spot, I'll sign and play for France.
And maybe 2 years ago or less than 2 years ago, it was something that he was intrigued by, and then maybe he had a change of heart. And maybe look, he talked about it. He said this is where his son was born. In the United States of America, and maybe that means something to him. He literally talked about it, so I imagine he means it.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I don't know.
Say he wants to play in the Olympics. I don't care. It's like just like stop trying to pander.
It sounds like you care.
No,
you
don't
care.
pander.
You get worked. You're getting worked up over it. You clearly care.
No, because you're like you said you care about it too much. No, it's stop pandering. You didn't just 2 years ago. You were willing to sell your soul to France
Who's he
if they
pandering
would
to?
guarantee a spot.
Who's he pandering to?
Every time he tells you how much it means now to play for Team USA. Stop.
Maybe
Just
it does
say-
mean something to him.
say-
Maybe
yes.
maybe he sees
and
playing
Team
with
France-
LeBron James means something to him.
That's
You
great.
sound like
Then
my
say
ex-girlfriend. Just because I like another girl doesn't mean I don't still like her.
Then say that. Then just
You
say
can
that.
like both countries.
Then just say that. I just,
He
you know.
kind of has.
He kind of has, and he's talked
also
about how
kind of had the
he's talked about how he enjoys playing for Team USA. Look, the United States of America has also provided him a lot,
It certainly has.
and he's happy for that.
It certainly
I don't
has.
understand why you get worked up over it.
And less than 2 years ago, if France was
It's
willing
the
to sign on the
littlest
dotted
thing.
line, he would have said, "Hey, I want to play for Team France," and he would have told you how important it was for him to play for Team France. So just don't be sucked in by sound bites. That's all it is.
Dude, I'm not getting sucked in. I don't care.
Well, then
It's not that big of a deal.
Yes,
I wish he
because-
played for Team Lithuania. I
Andrew,
wish he got
Andrew.
Lithuanian citizenship. That would have been awesome.
Andrew, there was nothing that he was ever going to say that was going to cause you to be in any way critical of him, and you know that. There was no way. He's one of your.
yeah,
he's
'cause-
like Kellen Moore with me.
Well, this has
right
nothing
now.
to do with
nothing
his
to do with that.
performance.
I disagree. Look. I just think the whole
But
thing
if
is.
he played for Team China, it's whatever he wants to do, man.
I don't want him at Team China either. I gotta
Whatever
tell
he
you.
wants to do it, bro.
That's fine.
And he decided to go with Team USA.
That's
and that's
fine.
good for him, man.
And that's fine. And he would have been on Team France.
All right, we'll end up with a question from the hat here.
what do we got?
All right. Ooh, this is a good one.
Uh-oh.
How tall is too tall? Like, if you could pick your ideal height to be, what would be the top end
This
of
is a
that
Connor
range?
Thomas question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. I knew it, dude.
6'3".
6'3"? So if you were 6'4", too tall.
No, 6'3" would be, if you're saying the ideal height.
No, yeah.
No, like the ideal height, I would say I may even go 6'2". Like I go 6'2", 6'3".
My God. He's so upset about Joel Embiid maybe playing for Team France or Team USA, and you want to be 6'2"?
Yeah, I'd go, no, 6'3" be fine.
Give me
Your wildest
give me
dream?
6'9", baby. Like,
No, I
come
don't
on,
wanna do
keep
that.
going.
No, because you know why? I know how difficult it is just hearing really, really tall athletes or different sized athletes talk about how you can't buy clothes off the rack.
Yeah,
You can't buy.
Oh,
like
so
simple
these
tell you that
million-dollar
between their
athletes,
endorsement
they're,
deals?
they're shopping at Ross.
They don't like they live normal lives. These guys too. That you have to go through the.
Ben Simmons was
normal
wearing
lives at the
You
Michael
can't
Rubin
fly
White Party.
A normal plane.
Yeah, exactly.
A normal plane, sometimes even in a first class seat,
They're not flying
isn't
normal
comfortable.
planes.
That
They're
many.
flying the team charter planes.
It's not only they go on vacation themselves, and don't tell me they all have private jets either. They don't.
All right, and then when they get to their destination, they're staying in the nice suite that
How about-
costs like $1 million.
How about sitting in movie theaters, things like that? These
I'll make
gigantic
a private
guys,
one at my house with my
I think
NBA
it's-
paycheck.
Yeah, they're going with their own. They
But
do
here's
the
the thing,
private
right?
theater.
Here's the thing: you got to go overkill if you're going to go with like the tall, because my dad's 6'7". Like he's not in the
Your dad
league.
is a big man. though.
He is very tall, so he
Yeah.
has all these problems that John's talking about. He's never played pro basketball and made millions upon millions. I think I'm going like 7'2".
All right, fine, 7'2".
Really?
Yeah,
7 foot.
Dude, you could
I'll
be
go
your
flat.
boy Valanciunas.
Damn
right
You
you
could
could
be
be.
the next great lit, though.
One of the things too is like you're just on these. Oh, they don't do things like this. Hotel rooms. Basic hotel rooms screw up these guys because they can't just say, "Oh, I want to go somewhere." Does this hotel have a bed that can fit me? My feet are off the end of the bed.
I
Like
sleep with
can't
my
lay
feet
in
off
it.
the bed already.
How?
What?
I slide down.
What?
What?
My feet are out of the covers and off the bed. So I wouldn't have
Your
that
feet-
problem.
wait a minute,
The
okay.
monsters under the bed are
So
going to
your
get you.
feet-
There-
your
there's
feet-
no
wait a minute.
monsters
So
there.
There might be.
first of all, your sheets at the end of your bed are not tucked in, or you
Ew,
kick them,
no,
or do you
God,
kick them off?
anti-tuck, bro. That's
What?
horrible.
No, wait.
You tuck your sheets
At the end of the
I
bed?
feel, I,
No,
I
at the
can't
end
move.
of the end of the bed,
no,
the sheet.
out.
Wait a minute.
First thing I do when I get to a hotel is I pull out those sheets, baby.
What are you, George Costanza?
Yes.
See?
I'm
You-
anti-tucking, dude.
This is great because you go, this is a Connor Thomas question, isn't it? And this leads to one of the weirdest things we found out about you in a great discussion.
That's
That's
just
really
one of the weirdest
weird.
things.
That's weird.
That's very weird.
You enjoying your
No, wait.
sheets
No, wait.
tucked in?
The sheets
Everybody
tucked in.
tucks your sheets.
You tuck
No,
your
they do not.
You tuck the sheet at the foot of the bed.
and then you untuck it.
The sides of the bed. The
No.
sides of the bed. I want flying
No,
free.
I want to move my feet,
All right,
damn
as
it.
much as I want to stay with this,
That's really weird.
we're going to be doing this forever,
Okay.
but that is very weird.
You,
No.
you definitely have some. Like, there's a Criminal Minds episode about
Yes.
Salciunas that someday is going to
You're
come
hell
out.
sleeping
outta
under a
here.
tablecloth, dude. Tuck it in.
That's
All right,
really
all
weird.
right, hold on. Tuck or untuck when it comes to the bed sheets? 610-632-0975.
You go total. You can't
Total
put it that
untuck.
way.
Sorry.
Totally untucked
yes.
sheets.
Totally untucked.
okay, we'll put a poll up.
Put a poll up.
Do
Thank
that.
you.
Yes,
I
let's do
need
that.
that because I need to know if I'm crazy. I can't.
No, you are
imagine-
crazy.
No,
Let
I'm
me
not.
assure you, you are.
There are so many. When it comes to sports, it's usually 2-1, me and Connor versus John.
many, many times.
When it comes to life, it's always you two against me. And I find it crazy. I think I'm logical. I think you guys are lunatics.
I do not think. I bet you 10% of society does not do what you do with the sheets.
That's ridiculous.
Like, that's crazy to me.
You guys are crazy. All right, Mr. Kellen Moore over here. Kellen Moore is #1 fan.
Yes.
So you worry about time of possession.
F. It's the only thing on his resume
F.
that I would give him an F for. His average is 21 to 22, between 21 and 22.
In the league.
Out of a 32-team league. That's unacceptable for a defense that I don't have a lot of confidence in. That's a problem. And it's the only thing, honestly, it is my only glaring red flag with Kellen Moore and his resume.
See,
And it's 5 seasons. It's 5 seasons of 20-plus. You're in the bottom of the league in time of
here's
possession.
my one. Where would you want him to be?
Minimum top half of the league. The bottom line is you got to be like 15, 14 and below.
All right, because I look at the top 10 from last year.
Okay?
Time of possession this is last season. Cleveland, #1 playoff team. They also were
Dominant defense.
run first, dominant defense. Buffalo, #2.
Right?
#3 is the Chicago Bears. They sucked. Like,
Their defense didn't suck. Their defense did not suck.
But ultimately they were a bad football team.
I guess, but their defense
Whether that
did not
offense
suck.
was going fast or slow, that offense was not going to put up points. Dallas was 4th. The New Orleans...
Their defense did not suck.
They did not suck. The New Orleans Saints were 5th. Their
defense
was not
did
good.
not suck,
Their
though.
defense did not suck. But the offense... Like, I'm talking about the offense, right?
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about...
So you worry about the defense when it comes to the time
because the
possession
offense,
data.
time of possession affects your team defense. Unless you're Chip Kelly, you ignore that.
Right, but I don't think it's that extreme. Like, that's
When
why
you're-
I don't worry about it.
When you've got 5 years and you always average in the 20s and you're in the that's not good. It's not a good stat for him. And I am a huge Kellen Moore fan, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. I don't like that number. That number bothers me. The Bills' defensive number, by the way, the Bills, you said one of those teams.
Yeah.
Bills' defense towards the top of the league last year. The Bears were a terrible team, a terrible football team. They had a minus 19 point differential for a terrible team.
Right.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
Like
it's horrible.
That's minus 19 is nothing. Like that's
Oh, sorry.
That's
Yeah.
mediocre. So I'm just saying to you is that, teams like the Panthers, the Commanders, Arizona plus like 125, 189. The Bears were right there. Their defense kept them in a lot of games.
All right.
I worry about it with Kellen Moore. I really do.
So it's something that we will be paying attention to. But here's Tim McManus yesterday with the best show ever talking about the already fast-paced offense that he's seeing during training camp.
I would say it was an efficient day for the offense. That's something that's been a theme for the first 2 days of training camp, is that Jalen Hurts has been really efficient with the football. Not a lot of splash plays. Like, he's not pushing the ball downfield a whole lot. There was one yesterday down deep in the left corner to Dallas Goedert. Today he had a pass to A.J. Brown deep down the right side during 7-on-7. So there's been a couple moments like that, but for the most part it's been quick game. They've been having like this up-tempo, quick game feel to their offense where Hurts is playing point guard a little bit. He's distributing to those playmakers, getting them out in space, getting the ball in their hands so they can create after the catch. And that was generally the theme of today's practice.
So quick up-tempo offense, which I do like.
Yeah, if you keep the chains moving and you
Right.
do all that.
I
fine, but
don't want
the
to get
home run-
stagnant. I don't want to be stale. I don't want to have to rely on tush pushes on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 every single time. Like, I want to keep moving the football downfield, but then it goes to your concern about time of possession.
It does, and I think it's a problem with this defense. The offensive game plan has to benefit the defense. The offensive game plan must do every favor that it can for the defense for this team to be successful this year. I really believe that. It could end up being something that absolutely haunts them.
Okay. It's something that we're going to keep an eye on.
I'm worried about it.
And you're the biggest Kellen Moore fan I know,
I am.
so it's
I am absolutely.
for you to be worried about it is
Yes.
something.
Yeah, I give it. No, I honestly, I give him an F for it. And I think that you can look at Dallas playoff games he was a part of,
Right.
where the offense didn't help the defense.
Well, isn't that when you should maybe try to match the two style of
Sure.
plays?
And people who say to you, but the thing is, you can't right now because the talent is
Right,
not
it's not
on
even close, yeah.
on the teeter-totter.
Well, no, what I'm saying is maybe Vic Fangio tries to implement his defense a certain way to match the style of offense.
Could.
But I don't know if they're going to do that.
It
Who
could.
knows?
One thing I know about Vic Fangio's defenses, again, he has 12 or 13 seasons where they've had like 20-plus turnovers. His defense turns the opposition over.
Right.
So that limits the defensive time on the field many, many times. I'm hoping we get some of that.
All right, me too. All right, coming up next, we've been talking a lot of Eagles today, obviously. A lot of defensive talk. We'll get to more text messages coming up, but I also want to go through a list of names that could be available for the trade deadline in Major League Baseball. Mason Miller seems to be off the table already. Randy Arozarena was traded last night to the Seattle Mariners if you're just tuning in and you're just waking up. What players are still available? Could the Phillies get them? We'll talk about that next. It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Fanatic Friday right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic.
sane one, Andrew Salciunas.
Please.
Working alongside psychopath John Kincade and across from me, lunatic Connor Thomas, because you guys like feeling trapped, you freaking weirdos.
Sounds like our Western name. It's like Buffalo Bill and the Sundance Kid or whatever. Psychopath Kincade and lunatic Thomas.
So we'll continue.
No, it sounds like a morning show in like Birmingham.
It is a morning show, buddy.
Yeah, damn right it is.
Country music.
I'm going to give you these lists of available,
Okay.
at least we think, Major League Baseball names for the trade deadline, and obviously we'll hit back the text line with our Eagles discussion today.
One thing on it with the Mason Miller thing, I did check during the. Now, one of the guys who's covered he's covered the A's for 11 years. He said, "I'd like to reiterate, at no point has anyone in the A's organization even hinted that Mason Miller would be available, and he is considered the crown jewel of the franchise at the major league level." Like, I don't understand where it's sports talk radio and writers that just came up with the Mason Miller. You go get Mason Miller. They have he's covered him 11 years.
I also
he
think
said they never ever have even anybody in the organization even blinked him that, oh yeah, we'd be interested in
then
that.
I'm going to say this. Then the Athletics are dumb.
Why?
Unless
he'll be around when they can get good.
Unless they think he's going to be a starting pitcher down the line. All right?
Okay. Why
would you not get 3 or 4 prospects for a team that's rebuilding for a guy that pitches 1 inning?
Because one of the things, as they consider themselves 2 years out at the major league level before they feel they could be competing for a wild card, they think he'll be there. He'll be a part of it. He may be a centerpiece of it.
For 1 inning.
I got to tell you, the amount of teams that would love to have him. There's probably 12 to 40.
No, contenders.
But they think but he's so young, and they think they're going to be a contender when they.
This isn't a schoolboy conversation where he's a starting pitcher. He's the ace of his staff. This is a reliever, dominant reliever.
They're damned if they do and damned if they don't. They're not close enough to be competitive, but if they keep shipping out guys, they'll never get there. If they focus on the move, they'll never get there. They got to make one choice, and it sounds like they want to hold him.
Yeah, and look, if that's what they want to do, that's what they do. But I do think it's dumb for them to not even consider receiving a phone call. Like if the Phillies offered, and you would not like it, but if the Phillies offered Andrew Painter and Aiden Miller for Mason Miller,
they would be stupid.
They would be stupid. Who?
We would be stupid to do that.
Would they also be stupid for not even taking the phone call?
Oh no, there's no one saying that they don't take a phone call. But this guy who's covered the A's saying there's never been he's never talked to anybody in the organization who even hinted that they'd be willing to part with Mason Miller.
I think they are dumb to not consider a starting pitcher and an everyday third baseman that's been called the next Mike Schmidt for a guy who pitches 1 inning dominantly, right? But let's say the Yankees were in a rebuild. They had the only player they had was Mariano Rivera, the greatest closer of all time.
Well, I'm going differently.
Guy throws an inning.
I think there's a difference between the Yankees. Like, I got to tell you right now, I think the Yankees, and I'll say it right now, I think they're going to regret not trading Juan Soto. Because it's not sure that they're going to sign him.
Well, if he resigns.
It's not sure. No, but it's not sure that they're going to resign him. The Yankees, remember, the Yankees are quirky now with their thing. They're right in the middle of the playoff race.
Yeah, they're 2 back in the
right
Orioles.
there.
They're not going to trade.
I know they're not going to. I think they're going to regret it. I think the Mets are going to regret not being sellers at the trade deadline. They're right there for the wild card.
That's the hard thing about baseball.
And I think they're going to regret in the long run that they don't make deals this year.
All right. So here are the lists of names that are available. But I'll do that after I let you know that I believe 68% of the people, Connor?
Yeah, I can't read it from this far
68% of the people are going to tell us.
The results are inconclusive.
They don't make their bets.
67% of that's not that. It's not that, John. 67% of people are anti-tuck-in of sheets.
There's difference. That's not written right then. Because there's a difference.
Fine. Here's what it says.
How about this?
When you make your bed, do you tuck in your sheets or leave the sheets completely untucked on all sides?
I do not believe that is one where, again, where you say 14% to 15% of people in America are on Twitter. That is that's not normal.
I don't know, man.
Nobody doesn't, that people just lay the sheets on there.
I got an immediate text from a dude saying, "You're an idiot. Everybody untucks their sheets." I think this may just be the one where we are completely off.
How about this one?
You guys are completely off on this.
Here, what this one is that first off, every single hotel will tuck sheets.
Okay, and then you untuck it.
And then you go around and you untuck every sheet from the whole bed.
Ask my wife. I do it every time.
That's crazy. It's serial killer-esque.
No, what's serial killer-esque is like you guys like feeling like you're in a freaking mummy tomb.
No, the sides are wide open.
Not a mummy tomb. I'm just comfy. Sue me for being comfy.
You guys are insane, and a lot of people are backing me up. Thank God for once. Once I'm not. Matt Chilla says if you sleep with the sheets tucked in, you might as well just cut right to the chase and wear a straight jacket for pajamas. Ben Simmons' jump shot checks in. Need those feet free, baby. Trev checks in. 100% untucked. Got to keep the dogs nice and cool. Damn right.
Got to keep the dogs nice and cool.
And I agree with him. All right.
Yeah, it's good. This is very good.
The list of names. This is from MLB.com. They had 13 top trade targets that actually have buzz. Because you hear the names all the time, right? Where there's not actual buzz when it comes to the names. And it's funny, you do a quick scroll on this. Mason Miller was not even on this list. And this was an article that came out a few days ago.
Right.
So maybe Mason Miller really was never on the table.
Why would I don't know.
We'll see. It's a reliever.
There you go.
All right, so obviously they don't need a catcher. I don't think they need a first baseman, but he's a right-handed bat, and Andrew Vaughn from the White Sox. I'm out on that. Jazz Chisholm. This is the first name that actually.
And Jazz Chisholm is supposedly not going to last with the Marlins through the weekend.
Yeah, I don't.
He's going somewhere.
Stay.
I don't think he's coming here though.
I saw the Yankees. There's sources say the Yankees don't want him because they don't like his personality.
Well, he's a guy who is reportedly not that popular. So you got to think about that when you're talking about vibes.
Right.
Everybody worries about vibes.
I think he'd be loved in this city, dude.
Yeah, but not in the locker room is different. The kind of guy that he is, he has not been known as a popular teammate. And that there's a reason for that.
So actually, this is during the summer or during the off season, during the spring. He was on a podcast, and somebody actually asked him about that. Like, we've heard that maybe some guys don't like him. Veterans in Miami, like Miguel Rojas, didn't like him because a player, I don't know who it was, De La Cruz, I think. What's his name on the Marlins?
Yeah. Oh,
Brian De La Cruz.
Brian De La Cruz.
He hit a home run last year in his first major league game, and he pimped it. And Miguel Rojas basically pulled him into the tunnel and said, "We don't do that around here. Like, we play baseball the right way." To which Jazz Chisholm said, "You guys haven't won anything. Like, your right way has won nothing." Like, and I kind of respect that at Jazz Chisholm as another young player who had been there for a few years was basically like, "Yeah, well, your right way has not."
Like, hey, bozo, you guys stink.
You guys stink. You guys have
fun.
always stunk. Like, let's change things up a little bit. And I think there was a disconnect between Jazz Chisholm with the younger players versus the older players.
That could very well be. And as far as how people want it done, Brian McCann was one of those guys.
Right. Look,
and I know Brian well. And when he came back to the Braves, I remember saying to him, "Hey, Brian, you didn't like when other people pimped home runs and everything like that. What are you going to do now that you have Ronald Acuna as a teammate?"
Right, a little bit different. And
are you gonna tell him he can't? And we had a big give and take about it. Like, just it could be like got pretty spirited.
I mean, he'd be coming to a locker room where we still celebrate a Reese Hoskins bat spike. Like, he might be all right.
Yeah, but we also, think back. There have been times with the Eagles locker room where we're like, this is such an ironclad locker room. You could add anybody in there. They've got the ultimate structure and makeup to make sure everybody fits. And there's a breaking point for everything. There's a chemistry that can be misbalanced by anybody.
Well, then you have to worry about that with everybody, I guess.
Well, you do.
You do, but the thing is, some guys don't have a reputation of rocking the boat.
And I think Jazz Chisholm would be fine, but I do understand a little bit, just like we talked about with the Vic Fangio thing. I do understand a little bit of reservation.
Who's another guy?
One more thing on the Chisholm thing. Remember when Bowden said it would have to cost Miller or Painter?
Not now.
Not now. After what Arozarena got for them?
No, not now.
Not now. Luis Robert Jr. on here.
Again, I'm not in on it, but it's
not happening.
Okay.
not
in on
happening
it.
here.
Yeah.
Because he's getting traded. There's no way he's
By the way,
staying
no,
with the
he's
White
traded.
Sox.
there are people who believe Arena's price tag would have been more than Roberts.
That's-
There are writers that actually believe that it would have been more
Well, it matters if the White Sox believe that.
because he's
and
constantly hurt. He's constantly hurt, and Arena, is going to play.
I think the Phils are going to get bid out of that market. I don't think there's any.
Okay.
Okay. Lane Thomas, who you have
I
talked
think-
about, John.
I was tipped,
Possible.
I was tipped the other day that Lane Thomas, that the Phillies were kicking tires on Lane Thomas, and it wasn't just casual. Like it was not casual interest that he'd be potentially
serious.
the guy.
Like
he
third
can steal.
date type.
He can
Yeah.
steal. He can steal bases too.
You do a lot of things.
He can run. He can. There's a lot of good things he can do.
Again, these are players with legitimate buzz, which is why Mason Miller's not on this
Right.
list. Brent Rooker is on here.
Again, where do you play him?
Well, he would be a bad left fielder.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, how about this? The Phillies won World Series twice in my lifetime. They had terrible left fielders in both of them. Terrible defensive
Fielding left field, yeah.
Greg Luzinski and Pat Burrell.
Yeah, you can find
So,
a
I
way to
mean,
win with that.
So it's not something that I'm against completely,
Right.
but it matters. Again, it matters till it matters. I better get a lot of Rojas games. If you're going to put Rooker in the outfield,
Oh,
you
yeah.
better have
Well,
a lot. Rojas better be your everyday
No,
center fielder.
he'd be splitting with Marsh.
See, now
Yes, he would be.
that's a problem because Marsh can't cover the deficiencies of Rooker.
But you can hit. Oh, no. He's platooning Rojas and Marsh in center.
That's what I'm
Yes.
saying.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but Marsh can't cover the deficiencies of Rooker.
But you know
think
what
he can.
happens? 6th, 7th inning, Marsh slides over to left, Rojas comes in the game.
Okay,
plays
that
center
could
field.
potentially, and you know what? I'm not anti that.
That
I'm not
would be.
anti that.
I would imagine that would be what happens. By the way, a couple of relief names: Carlos Estevez of the Angels, and Tanner Scott's a name that
Tanner
is
Scott, I have interest in.
definitely worth keeping an eye on.
I'd have interest in that.
He's
Would
lethal
you?
from absolutely, and he's better than Gregory Soto. And
Oh,
you
no question
trust
he
him
is.
more.
Well.
He might just cost you a decent price.
I think they need two arms in the bullpen, not
Well,
one.
Kyle Finnegan out of Washington is an interesting name,
and
you
Finnegan
could do
could come in a deal.
2 for
Right.
like one deal type
Right.
of thing with Lane Thomas.
But
so.
those are the names that were on this list from MLB.com, players that actually have buzz around the league, not necessarily ones that we're just saying that makes sense. So we'll continue the discussion on our topics today. We'll get more of your text reaction and questions out of the hat. Also, Kincade quiz number 2.
It's coming up.
You'll be giving that to us next.
You gonna let me play?
Maybe.
Yeah, and you're going to be kind when you
Listen,
play.
if I'm a baller and I'm hitting them, I'm going to play it. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. On this beautiful Fanatic Payday Friday. I hope you're having a safe trip into work today. I'm sorry that I didn't wish you a safe trip at 8 o'clock. Damn it.
You did not.
I just noticed it. Thanks for the reminder. All right. We are going to do a Kincade quiz coming up in a few minutes, a 90-second quiz. We did this a couple weeks ago.
It's hands in the air. We're going to try it again.
And we did pretty well on it.
I say hands in the air for Connor and Andrew, so that way I just ensure that they do not do anything on their computers.
Yes, and we'd love for you to play along at home. How you do, see how you fare. We did pretty well last time.
No, you guys did great.
I did great.
You weren't very friendly.
Connor came in for the save.
Exactly.
It's an important. Look, you're
great.
important. Mason Miller. You could cost. It's good to have you.
Don't patronize me.
But first, let's get a text on any of our topics today. What do we got on the text line, Connor?
Faye from Pottstown says she loved Vic Fangio's press conference yesterday and thinks the defense should vastly improve under his leadership. By far, though, the best part of his conference was saying, "I don't know what swagger is. I care about talent." Literally laughed out loud at my desk.
I mean, it's amazing.
I love the answer.
I fell in love with Vic Fangio yesterday.
Swagger is a term that fans use. It's not a term that the football coaches are even concerned about.
There's some
Players
coaches
use it.
that love the
Players
term
use it.
swagger.
I think I got my swagger back. That's literally.
There are coaches that are saying that?
No, it was a player that said it, but I'm sure there's
tell
coaches.
me Prime ain't saying swagger out of Colorado.
Yeah, he's definitely saying swagger.
I guarantee you Nick Sirianni's using
Yeah,
think a lot of coaches
so then
use
the coaches
swagger.
do use swagger. Play some swagger out there today. Like I'm sure
Vic
that
Fangio's just not the type of coach to use swagger.
He wants talent.
Absolutely not. But I'm curious. Scroll through the text line if there are any that are worried about him, because we haven't gotten one yet. I don't think that we will, but John brought it up, and I don't think you're correct. Like, Connor, you're
right.
It's in the back of your mind because it didn't work well in Miami last season. I just haven't thought of it because I think defensive coordinators should be a little bit more rough around the edges, and it's freaking football.
Sure.
I can't find anything in there.
Good. That means nobody's concerned.
It's all
Good.
tucked, untucked.
It's all tucked, untucked, or how tall I would have been.
This is all. By the way, is there any
We've got
consensus?
like 50 text messages.
Is there any consensus on the height thing? Cousin Matt texts in 6'4", baby.
Yeah, I think
I'm like,
you're.
screw
I think
you,
you're
'cause
weird
you're
for saying
6'4".
6'2". I think you're weird.
I think you know what I like the idea. It'd be easy to just walk in, grab your clothes. Simple. It's not wild. Anything that's simple.
No, man. I want to be like uncomfortably tall.
No, I don't want to be uncomfortably tall.
Make me 7'8". I will dominate the NBA.
Like I couldn't get over how big be twice in public. Being at an event with Tobias Harris. How big Tobias Harris is
compared to you.
When you watch him on a basketball court, I did not.
Because everybody else is giant on the basketball court.
But Tobias Harris is a monster of a man.
All right, John,
you ready?
Kincade quiz number 2. We passed.
No, you guys passed.
Yeah.
You guys last
Flying
time.
colors.
No, 38 seconds left on the clock last time. You were awesome. I only give you 90 seconds.
So in less than a minute, we had
you
that
did it.
correct.
You did a great job. Now it's going to be back and forth with you two. So that way, Andrew just doesn't dominate you, Connor.
Well, wait, what do you
right.
mean back and forth?
You're going to give an answer, Connor will give an answer. You give an answer, Connor will give an answer.
Can I pass?
Everybody has to have a turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to play as part of the team.
Okay.
Get over it.
Here's the deal. All right, it's going to be 90 seconds on the clock.
What if one of us doesn't get it right?
You can pass. You go pass.
We're
if
good.
one of you's drawn a blank, go pass.
All right.
All right. 90 seconds on the clock.
Pass the ball, Kobe.
I saw a stat that where the Eagles are different than almost every other franchise in the NFL.
Okay.
How about this one? Only 8 Eagles are in the top 21 of the franchise all time in all-purpose yardage. This is modern era Eagles is what I've done.
Okay.
After 2000, their career had to begin as an Eagle. After 2000.
And it's all-purpose yards.
After all-purpose yards, so there's no quarterbacks are on this list.
Correct.
8 Eagles in the top 21 of the franchise all-time, all-purpose yardage. 90 seconds, begin.
I'll take the lead, LaShawn McCoy.
You got it. He is 5th.
Darren Sproles.
Not on the list.
No, Brian Westbrook.
Brian Westbrook is number 2.
Come on, Connor.
All time. Go on.
Listen, I'm going to try and knock off the edge.
Come on,
ones.
we have 90 seconds.
Okay, Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun Jackson is 8th.
Zach Ertz.
13th.
Let's go with Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders, 21st.
Okay.
He's the last one on the list. Good job, Connor. You have a minute left.
This is a bust-out Brent Selleck.
Brent Selleck, 20th.
I knew it.
One spot ahead of Miles Sanders. You have 2 more on the list. You've gotten 6.
Jeremy Maclin.
Jeremy Maclin, 19th. You are missing someone.
Missing someone?
Yeah, he currently plays for the team.
No, you're missing someone.
Then I'll pass it to you.
A.J. Brown?
Not A.J. Brown.
Okay. Thought he might be on there by now.
Alshon Jeffrey.
Alshon Jeffrey is one. You know what I'm thinking is? You guys got the list. Because this is what he had. I saw this the other day. There's an incorrect thing on the list. Deuce Staley was listed, and he's not. Deuce Staley began in 98.
So,
you guys got all 7. And you did it with 45 seconds left on the clock.
We went a bit. Where's Alshon on that list?
Alshon's not. I'm going to tell you he's not on the list.
He's not?
Not top 25.
Okay.
No, he's not top 25. Here's the interesting thing.
Here's the thing. It's bad.
Here's where I got it the other
Brent
day.
Selleck shouldn't be on.
But here's where I got it the other day. The Eagles' offense has been, as a franchise, we're in this era now where everybody's like, wow, the Eagles' offense. The Eagles' offense is historically bad.
Yes.
When only 8 members of the modern era, and it's really 7, post-2000 career, are in the top 21. They are in the bottom 5 franchises in the NFL that don't include any expansion.
That's why A.J. Brown is going to go down as the greatest Eagles wide receiver ever.
Because he's going to climb on that list huge.
Like, it's all. I mean this respectfully. Harold Carmichael should not be number 1 in all-time receiving yards.
He isn't. Timmy Brown is.
Are you sure?
Well, you're going receiving yards.
All-purpose
yards.
No, yeah, but I'm saying is like that's how bad. That's how bad wide receivers have been in Philadelphia.
The modern era has not been good to us.
All right, coming up next, we reset the show. Also, Jordan Mailata seems to be the new voice of the Eagles. He talked about the first 2 practices and a message to the team, the fans, and the media. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
enjoy your Friday, get through it, and then go to the weekend and just freaking enjoy yourself, all right? I'm just glad that people are on my side about this untucked thing. That's all I care about today.
I don't believe it, but it's good.
That's all right. All right, so here's what we've been talking about today, and we'll get to the text line in a second. And I want to play some audio from Jordan Mailata yesterday. I think you're going to love what you had to hear. But yesterday
caused a reaction in my house.
Really?
And it wasn't from me.
Okay.
We saw it on Channel 6, and let's just say it elicited a reaction.
Is that right?
Yep, not from me, though.
Okay.
I'll tell you what it is.
All right, so we'll hear that in a few minutes. But here's what we've talked about today. Vic Fangio, during his press conference yesterday, was very honest. And he said that Bryce Huff would not be ready for the season if it started today to be a 3-down lineman. He talked about the linebackers and how everybody is in play for starting jobs because nobody's really a clear-cut favorite. He talked about James Bradbury and the potential move to safety. He said it's been done before, but not often has it been successful. Like, he just said it was a great press conference. I loved listening to it in real time. I've loved going back and listening to it. I've loved playing it on the air so far. I love that he's defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. My question for you at 610-632-0975 is whether or not that press conference instilled confidence in you. It instilled confidence in me. Like, I heard that guy and I go, all right, this guy is going to get these guys ready for week 1. Or did it end up adding more concern because here he is telling you on day 2 of training camp, yeah, this team's not ready yet. And it kind of seemed like they're not close. Did it instill confidence or concern for you?
Again, it gave me that we have an adult in charge. It gave me the confidence that we have a guy who's going to get under the hood and he's going to tell us how things really are and he's going to fix things. That's what I walk away with. I feel confident with him a part of the organization in a big way. So, not
so
to the
more
Kellen
confidence.
Moore level. Yeah, it made me feel more confidence because the Nick Sirianni, everything's great. La la
but
la.
you know,
la,
and it's funny.
Drives me nuts.
Connor, you were a little bit more concerned when you heard him talk, right?
No. I was fine.
Oh, I thought you said you were a little
issues.
bit more concerned about the defensive players.
Well, I mean, I was more concerned about the Bryce Huff thing. I know where the rest of the defense is, right?
Right.
The Bryce Huff thing felt like if Howie Roseman's going to make that move and then trade Hassan Reddick and say, okay, we're going with this guy as basically a replacement, I would have believed it would have been for someone who was less of a question mark, and that kind of made me reevaluate. But overall, like, the defense is what it is. He's not going to sugarcoat it. I didn't think they were really talented.
Right.
Like, I know the work he's got to put in, so I'm not more concerned overall.
It just, I think of our patience conversation that we keep on having.
Yeah.
Right? When I hear how the offense is flying around and Jalen's looking comfortable and quicker and healthier, right? And the Devontae Smith during OTAs was talking about how, oh my God, the pre-snap motion, it's awesome. And they're glowing. They're glowing about the offense. And I'm being told to be patient with the offense.
Right, you're falling for it.
Falling for what?
We're trying, like, people like Andrew DeCecco and I are trying to keep level heads in this fan base and in reaction to this season. So if you have a side of the ball that your expectations are getting high for, we're going to try and draw them back so you're in the right place.
Okay, but defense, Andrew DeCecco, who you just talked about, he's not going to be patient with the defense.
And if your bar is low for a unit that you think is going to more perform, I don't agree with him on that, but I understand where his thinking is. If you think this defense is going to be better than people expect them to be, you may say, hey, we should have a higher bar for this defense. I think people are going to hear stuff about this offense and assume that we're seeing the 2022 Eagles right from Jump Street, and it's going to piss some people off when they don't put up 40 in Game 1. Now, I'm not saying that's you guys, but I'm saying there are going to be people in the fan base that believe that's what this team should do.
I don't need them scoring 40. I just need to see them putting together an NFL product.
I want them to look
which
good.
I didn't see them do
I want them to look
a
good.
lot in the second half of the season. And even in the first half of the season when they were winning games, I saw an offense that just wasn't moving the football.
Right.
Every single first down felt like a freaking grind. They had to get – it was usually – I did a whole thing. There was a game against the Commanders, and I broke it down with Ray when I was doing middays. More than 50% of their first down, their first and 10, either stayed at first and 10 or went backwards. In an entire game, half of the first and 10s went backwards.
That's atrocious.
That's horrible.
That's atrocious.
And every time it was then, all right, now 2nd and 8. All right, now it's 3rd and 3. All right, maybe run the football, make it 4th and 1, and then tush push. This This is every 10 yards. Like, every 10 yards was a grind for them last year. I can't see that this year. I don't care if it's week 1. I can't see a grind to get first downs every single drive.
If you require that many tush pushes, your offense is not good.
Even not tush pushes. Like,
your offense is not good.
I don't want to be second and long every single drive.
Yes. And here's where I think the disconnect is, and I'm starting to realize this the more I hear you guys talk about your side of this argument. I think that I took you guys to mean that your bar for the offense was higher than what it actually is, right? If you have realistic expectations for the offense, you want them to be able to move the ball efficiently.
Yep.
You want them to be able to do stuff the way that solid teams in the NFL do. I don't think that's too much of an asking price early. But I've heard things from you guys about, hey, is Jalen Hurts going to beat 2022's numbers? Are they going to be like a top 5 offense in football? And to me,
top 5 offense, they should be.
Top 5 they should be, and Jalen Hurts should also be.
When everything's all said and done. To me, that is a high bar to start the season with. Starting it by saying, hey, I expect you guys to be a competent offense and grow into an elite one, I think is totally fair.
Okay.
It's good.
I think that's fair.
I don't think anybody's going to fight you on that one.
Now, you know how I feel about Hurts. I think he's not going to be 2020. I think he's going to be good.
I think he's going to be better.
2022.
So we are definitely on thing. I think he's going to have his best year ever.
That would be awesome.
I think he's going to have his best passing year. He's going to see, because I'm just basing that off of what I saw other NFL quarterbacks that are in his neighborhood do when Kellen Moore got a hold of them.
I just look at it the fact that he was literally the runner-up for MVP 2 years ago. And and this isn't me saying Jalen Hurts stinks. There's not many like MVP candidates year in and year out.
Like how much better can he be?
It's Patrick Mahomes and who else, right? Lamar Jackson twice. I just don't know, can Jalen Hurts do that again, where he is the second best player, and I can make the case the best player in 2022. He should have won MVP.
He should have won. If he hadn't got injured in the Bears game, he is.
And you know what? They lose both games that he did not play in. That should have been an added reason why he should have won MVP. Most valuable player is not just statistics. It's also how much value you bring to your team. And he was the most valuable player. The 2 games he missed were the 2 games that they lost.
Right.
In that entire season.
They didn't lose that.
The Cowboys,
Cowboys game because Gardner Minshew played great.
Yeah, he was fine. Yeah.
I mean, that was certainly not his fault.
They got to give it to Kermit the Frog, Mr. State Farm.
Yeah, they have to every single time.
Unbelievable.
But whatever. All right, what do we have on the text line, Connor? You can text the show at 610-632-0975. We've also been talking a lot of Phillies today. The trade deadline is 5 days away. If they don't make a splashy move, they make a minimal move. They make a platoon player, and they get a bullpen arm that's not Mason Miller, who everybody's been talking about since opening day. How are we feeling? And we got to talk about this questions conversation that we got into in like the 7 o'clock hour. But what do we have on the text line?
Trevor from Percy says, don't the Eagles players preach and talk about accountability? Vic being honest to media and fans is a form of accountability. I'm all for it, and they should love it.
Hell yeah, it's a great point.
And I don't think we haven't heard anybody from the Eagles having a problem with them.
No.
Yet. It's still early.
It's day 2 of training camp.
Right.
Yeah, it's day 2 of training camp. All right, what else we got?
We also have a check-in from Frank in Malka Hill who says, I would hope that this was, and he's talking about the conversation about how Vic Fangio in Miami had that kind of issue with the defense. I would hope this was a big discussion prior to bringing Fangio in, especially with how last season ended with coaches and players not being on the same page.
I think this plays to something that I've heard Ray point out, and I think it's a very, very good point. The Eagles have long wanted the Vic Fangio defense to be their defense. Now they got Vic Fangio.
Right.
This was, I don't think they give one flip what happened in Miami. And I don't think they should. Because if you watch the end season, it's clear that a guy like Jalen Ramsey really threw his weight around amongst the defensive players. And if you get one guy who's doing that, I don't believe the Eagles have that guy. I don't believe that Darius Slay, if he decides that he doesn't dig Vic Fangio, that he's going to create a mutiny of other players because of it.
Yeah, maybe.
The other players, the majority of the younger guys, a lot of them love being coached tough.
Correct.
Maybe they don't have that guy, but part of the ability to coach something, like you can have every great idea in your head. If you can't get players to buy in and communicate, this team is in no better of a spot defensively than they were last year. And I don't think that's a problem with Vic Fangio. I'm just saying there has to be some consideration of what happened in Miami last year prior to hiring him. I don't think it's likely that it happens. I do think it has to be part of the thought process.
Yeah, but is he going to change who he is? Like,
No.
he's been doing this for how long has he been in the league, Vic Fangio?
My God, it's 40 years.
Like, is he going to all of a sudden change in 20? Like,
It's not about changing. It's sometimes about accepting what you can deal with. Like, not every option is a perfect option. So
No, of course
sometimes
not.
you have to see, okay, maybe a player will be turned off by this. Are we willing to accept that for what he brings schematically and how he can teach this?
I think, and I think this is also my belief in life. Players should fall in line to coach.
Yes.
I would
Not
agree.
coach should fall into line to
No
play.
question. And that is new school, old school.
And I think the Sixers, a lot of times it was organization fell in line with players, like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid.
Catered to, you mean?
Whereas it should have been players fell in line to the coach and the organization. But that's not what the case was. And I do still believe that was part of the issues early on
I was
for
on
everybody.
30 years. It's 30 years for Vic Fangio this year in the NFL.
It's amazing.
Bro, it's longer than I've been alive.
Yeah,
I think he
seriously.
knows what he's doing.
Happy 30th season of Vic
Well, that being
Fangio.
said, I don't know
Incredible.
what
There
I'm
you go.
doing. So,
All right, Jordan Mailata yesterday, he spoke to the media, and he's clearly becoming the
Much
new,
more vocal.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's replaced Jason Kelsey. Like somebody
Yes.
had to do it. Jalen Hurts will have his obligations to speak to the media, and it seems like he is definitely taken a strong step toward being the leader of maybe the team from a standpoint where we don't hear him and see him. It might be lead by example. It might just be lead inside the locker room and not publicly, right? That
Yes.
might be his role. It seems like Jordan Mailata's role is to be the vocal person, to be the guy in front of the camera, to be the guy that talks to the media after the game by his locker and answer the tough questions, right? Here's Jordan Mailata yesterday talking about the standard.
Just trying to maintain the standard. You know, everybody thinks it's a joke, but it's something that we live by. It's unacceptable that we had 3 false starts yesterday, and that was including myself on the very first play of practice. So, you know, there needs to be discipline to, again, uphold the standard.
The standard's the standard, right? We all know about the standard. He literally says, I know people think it's a joke because he probably hears us making fun of Jalen Hurts and
Nick Sirianni.
and all the isms that they have. But it's something that they believe in, and I do like that he's calling himself out
I like
for
that
a
too.
false start in training camp.
He also, in a clip, I don't know if we have it. In a clip, he also talked about the fact that, and I didn't see it, that I did see it on the news. He was telling everybody in the press corps, you got to move on.
Well,
We're on to this year, right?
I wonder if we have it.
during the tease, I said he has a message for his teammates, the fans, and also the media. Take a listen.
I'm about goddamn tired of talking about last year. I'm tired, I'll be honest. I'm only looking forward. You know, we can only learn so much from last year, and we learn a lot. And the direction that we're going now is forward, and we got to do that this year. I mean, talk is cheap, but I got a really good feeling about our offense this year and our defense. And you know, if everyone can please stop talking about last year, that'd be nice.
All right. What's your reaction that apparently was reacted in the house?
I got to tell you, I told Nick Sirianni that on the first day of practice, I would have said, we'll talk about last year one last time.
Yeah.
And then we're turning the page. My wife's watching, and she hears it, I guess Deuces had it or whoever on Channel 6. And she says, well, maybe if last year went a little better and you guys gave some answers about why it all fell apart, people would stop asking about last year. And I said, you know what? Though it's counter to what I think, I can understand why she thinks it and why a lot of fans would think it. They never gave us an explanation as to why it all fell apart.
They never
didn't want to talk about it. They rounded the wagons and kept it quiet and everything. And when you don't take ownership of something, of course he's damn tired about talking about last year. I get it. I told that after day one of camp, I would have said, everybody in this room, you're going to be fined. We're going to do kangaroo court. You're fined if you talk about last year. But my wife brought up a point. Well, maybe if you had explained what happened last year and you had an explanation for it and you just talked about it when it happened, people would stop talking about it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So from a player, from his standpoint, I totally get it.
I totally get it.
Their season ended miserably. They probably all looked forward to their vacations.
Absolutely.
Their weddings. Players got married, during the off season. And they get to camp for the 2024 NFL season. A lot of those guys, they didn't do podcasts. Like every once in a while you see a player did a podcast during the offseason.
Absolutely.
A lot of those guys didn't do podcasts. They probably sat in misery for like a week, thinking about how the season ended. Some retired, some signed elsewhere, some got traded, some just got released. The players that are back here, they're here for the 2024 season. For us, there was no off season.
Amen.
We talked about the collapse every day up until literally 2 days ago.
And you know what Jordan did? No, though he's living in Center City and he's part of this community. But he also got the hell out of here.
Right.
At the end of the year. Went as far away from Philadelphia as you possibly could for a good portion of time.
Yeah. So
that's different.
I don't blame anybody who is a member of the Philadelphia Eagles, player, coach, equipment manager. I don't care. I whoever it is. I don't blame any of them for wanting to look forward and not continue to talk about last year.
Completely.
Any fan, media member, you name it, that wants to look back to last year and start comparing things to this year, negatively or even positively.
Get over it if you're a player. Get over it.
By the way, we could also do this in a positive way. Like,
right.
Wow, the linebackers were so bad last year.
And look how they've improved.
Imagine if they had Devin White last year. Maybe they do a little bit better. Maybe imagine if they had Quinyon Mitchell last year. Maybe Drew Lock doesn't go 90 yards down the field and beat you in Seattle.
Amen.
Wow, imagine if Kellen Moore was here last year. Maybe the offense is much better, doesn't go stale, doesn't get predictable. The 49ers don't rip out your hearts after you have a 6-0 lead because you drive downfield twice, but you can only get 2 field goals. Imagine if you're up 14-0. I can spin this into a positive, too.
It's not all negative, Jordan.
But I don't blame him for wanting to move on.
I understand why he says, I'm damn well tired of talking about last year. I get you. But if you ever gave us an explanation of what happened last year and you didn't just keep it as a state secret, I think that the questions would be much different. If these questions were already answered, this thing would have been moved on from long ago.
I don't know if that's true.
You still would have had people reference it.
Yes.
But the questions wouldn't be coming.
Well,
they would have answered it. If they had answered it at the end of the year or they answered it at OTAs or then absolutely, you would not have had media members going, let me ask you again about a question you already answered months ago.
Well, I don't know if that's true because the Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni thing.
He never answered it.
No, but what if he did say after the game, yeah, me and Nick have things that we need to work on.
That's fine. And then at OTAs, they would have said
asked about it.
And then at OTAs, they would have said, have you guys worked on it? And he could have come with his answer that he had the other day.
Right.
The question would not have been asked again.
Okay.
Would have been asked again. They made this bed. Now sleep in it.
Of course
now
they
sleep
did.
in it.
You
guys did
They had a historic collapse. We hadn't seen it since the 80s. Like, of course they made their own bed with this.
The media didn't do it.
I will tell you,
it.
one thing. If we've learned anything about today's show, sometimes you make your bed and you don't want to sleep in it the way that it's made. So, I don't know. I can't blame Jordan Mailata for...
No, I don't blame him for feeling the way he does. But the thing is, he created it. The team created it.
Yeah,
They're the ones who created it. Not the media, not the fan base.
I also think because he's becoming the vocal leader of the team, I think that may have been a message
tone, right?
for the team. That may have been for the 53 guys that will make this roster, for the 69-man roster if you count the practice squad, for the 90-man roster that's here right now for training camp. That may have been a message to the media for all his teammates, and I think Jordan Mailata is the guy that's going to be taking the bullet for the team whenever there needs to be. I think that's my read on it.
I agreed with Mailata's point of view. I just was like, wow. Like my wife came with a different point of view going, well.
I love how fiery she's getting.
Oh, yeah, she's getting.
Also, in Philadelphia sports, man, she's getting all fired up.
Yeah, she's getting all
that's
caught up.
fantastic,
Yeah, she's sounding more and more like a Philadelphian every day.
Is she coming for a seat on the show?
She might be.
I'm not teaching her how to run the board.
Hey, trade deadline's coming up, Connor. I'm just saying,
Connor,
man.
I'm just telling you, she doesn't listen.
I'm getting sent to Westchester.
She's not really helping us. She doesn't listen.
All right, coming up next, we'll get more of your text messages. We got to get a question or two out of the hat on this Fanatic Friday, which is something fun that we like to do on Fridays. And we haven't gotten to it. Why am I crazy for not caring about the questions of other teams when I have questions of my own, Connor? You got to try to explain why I am crazy for wanting to improve my team while not caring about what other teams are doing. It's Kincade and Salciunas right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
It's a dumpster in a bag. At Home Depot and Lowe's. You need details? Go to Bagster.com.
It is 9:27 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this beautiful Fanatic Friday. Talking a lot about Vic Fangio today. His press conference yesterday that I thought was freaking amazing, even though he kind of confirmed what we all believe and that there's major questions with the defense. But that's okay, man. I mean, look, we all knew it. Nobody thought that it was going to be fixed overnight. We'll see how this training camp unfolds. But it was really interesting to hear Vic Fangio, and it was really interesting to hear John and Connor kind of bring up how maybe some people don't like hearing that kind of stern talk. I think it's a good thing. I think we should probably bring that back in society and life in general, not sugarcoat absolutely everything, but that might just be me. But interesting stuff out of Vic Fangio yesterday. We've been talking about that all day today. And when it comes to the Phillies, if they don't make a splash, how are you feeling? So, Connor, earlier today you called me crazy, which is like, the over-under is like 3.5 for each show.
Yeah, we've hit the over today.
Even though I was the one that's correct about the untucked sheets.
Fair enough. I won't apologize, but I'll
from the 15% of Americans on Twitter. Go on.
I might go to one of your websites that you like to look up for all these studies. I guarantee the majority of people are untucked.
The text line is very heavy untucked.
Yeah, dude. From the 15% of the people,
we're getting cooked everywhere.
Yeah, dude. It's insane. Why am I crazy for? I don't even know what you think I'm crazy for saying. It was I don't care about the problems of other teams. I just want to address mine.
Okay, are you playing against the Phillies? Or are you playing against these other teams?
I'm playing against these other teams that also have questions.
You're not. It's not a race where you're trying to beat your personal best. You just have to be better than the other teams. So let's look at the factors at play here. Is it a quiet trade deadline with no real impact players available?
Yes, because there's no like Juan Soto.
That's who we're talking about.
Shohei Ohtani last year, there was talks. It never happened, which the Angels were idiots for not doing.
Okay, so there's not a player that's going to take a team that's not as good as you really over the top of being better than you.
Well, if healthy, Luis Robert could be that guy. But
Whoa. Did you put like Luis Robert in the...
No, not to that level.
In terms of impact, like if you make a...
I know what you're saying.
Dude, he bats in the middle of the order the second he gets here.
I got you.
I'm not comparing him to Juan Soto. I'm saying he's better than Lane Thomas.
Oh, he is. He's better than Lane Thomas.
Okay, put him on any other team in baseball.
If he plays, right.
Do you have significant doubt that the Phillies are still as good, if not better, than them?
I'll go back to what I've been saying a million times. The Phillies were no doubt better than the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Okay, but that's not how we do it, right?
No, that's how I do it. Because if six guys in a lineup go cold, I would hope that maybe the other three something.
Like adding a seventh guy is going to make that any less likely.
It might give me more chances, probability, anything that increases my chances with what I care about.
Dodgers are getting him, by the way. I think that's where Robert's going to end up. The Dodgers,
because because here's the deal: they're not terrified of losing a prospect or two because they know that they're going to find another prospect or two.
The Dodgers are 3 games now behind the Phillies for the top seed.
You're right, and the Dodgers have a lot to show for it in the championship.
Correct.
Case.
That's what I'm saying to you. That's what I think, Connor. I was making your point.
The Phillies. The Phillies have 2 in ever.
I got you.
But they've advanced further than the Dodgers 2 years in a row.
Okay, and what have we?
And the Dodgers go out and buy.
What have you agreed with me all season long when it comes to that? I don't want to just hope that happens again. Like the Dodgers and Braves choked away the playoffs the last 2 years, correct?
I think the Phillies literally beat the Dodgers. Beat the Braves, took their lunch money and intimidated them.
Then I'll say it this way. The Dodgers and Braves were both upset in their playoffs.
They absolutely were.
Right?
Heavy upsets.
I don't want to rely on that happening again. I want to be the better team. Right now, record-wise, they are the best team.
And I don't think the Phillies have the DNA of the Dodgers or the Braves. I think the Phillies have a better stock.
I think that's fair.
The Phillies
I think the Dodgers clubhouse is better. We just don't really know because we're not.
I think the Dodgers.
Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman are 2 of the more beloved players in baseball, and so is Shohei Ohtani.
They are.
I'm sure they're cool. Like, they don't have any major issues.
I think they seem like a bunch of individuals.
That's outside perspective.
We don't know.
I understand.
Yeah, we don't know.
But when I watch the Dodgers, I see as star here, star here, star here, star here. I don't buy that I don't consider Castellanos a star player in Major League Baseball. I don't consider Schwarber a star player in Major League Baseball. I consider Harper one.
Mm-hmm.
I consider Trey Turner on the verge of being always in that conversation. The Dodgers, to me, seems like you just said, let's buy an all-star team. Let's put an all-star team together. Let's buy him.
Yeah, but a lot of those guys besides Ohtani have been there for a little bit. Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez were their two big moves that are like actual starters this offseason, but they've had a lot. Will Smith's been there for a while. Freddie, Mookie, they've been there for a couple years now. Like, you've got the same manager. I think that team's more together than you'd assume.
I'm not worried about Dave Roberts in a playing chess, even with Rob Thompson. I don't think he pushes the right buttons.
No,
I don't think he's
I got you. But you have your concerns with Rob Thompson, too.
I do.
So.
No, Rob Thompson, that's what I want him to have another thing. I watched him manage the bullpen this week. Twice he mismanaged the bullpen in games where they had big leads.
Okay. Right, but we're losing the course of this argument. The point is, there is no team at this trade deadline that is going to overtake the Phillies based on eye test, based on record, based on anything.
Dodgers could. Yes, Dodgers could.
Even that, the last time that team came here, you swept them.
You did. And we're going to find out on August 5th, so just a week from now. We're going to find out what the Dodgers have got for the Phillies in response when they go to L.A.
Yeah. Look, all I'm saying, and it's not that I don't think if the Phillies don't make a move, I still think
they're going to make a move, though. You know they're going to do something.
But I'm saying, let's just say, bottom line, they don't make a move, period. Like, this is the team that you see in front of you today is the team that you're going to see after the trade deadline. They're still World Series contenders.
Absolutely.
I'm not moving off of that.
I think they're... No, I got to think they're World Series. They're right there to be amongst the World Series favorites.
As of last week, I think they were the betting favorite to win the World Series.
They were.
But
it was the first time, by the way, that they had jumped the Dodgers.
I'm always willing to add to my probability.
Right, and that's where you're wrong because there is a breaking point. It's not as simple as if I add this player, I have a 70% chance. If I add this player, I have an 80% chance, and then a 90, and then 100%.
It pains me to say this. You're an athlete.
I am.
That is your
Thank you.
Really. You guys are really stretching the athlete thing.
He must be desperate to make this point if he's got to say that.
So if you're playing pickup basketball and you could pick between a 12-year-old kid like I had the other day on my squad or somebody that's 30 years old that can actually play well with the other people around them, wouldn't you rather have the 30-year-old, even though we may have won with the 12-year-old, and we still haven't talked about that we beat you with the 12-year-old on our team?
You didn't beat me. You beat one guy. That's a different conversation.
But you get what I'm saying? There was no percentage. There's no math. But talent is better. More talent is good.
There is more to it than that. Because if you said, you get a 30-year-old this game, but for the next 100 times you play pickup, you're playing with nobody in that spot. Like that's
why am I playing with nobody?
You're losing prospects that you're going to need based on the payroll of this team to come up and play a spot in this team in the next 3 or 4 years. And you may not care about 3 or 4 years now, but that needs to be part of the equation.
Okay,
and if you
but
just say
I'm not making a move where it's Painter, Miller, and Crawford all in the same trade for one player.
I don't care if it's all in the same trade.
You were willing to trade 2 of them for Miller.
Miller's
closer.
Miller's the only guy Aiden Miller's the only guy that I'm not moving.
Okay, so
that's the one guy that I have been pretty stern with. I'm not moving him for anybody that's available at the trade deadline.
And by the way, if you may not have noticed that they've moved Aiden Miller to shortstop, and I think there's something in there, and they're thinking the Phillies that may be going. Well, first off, show that he can play multiple positions in case they want to move him.
Right?
Yeah, they're just trying things.
He's in the minors. He's a lot of work on.
Or eventually. He's the shortstop of their plans.
Turner
in the
moves
future,
to second,
and then Turner moves to second.
But then when you do a stop,
you got to still play the song and smile, and nobody complains about him.
John Suff, playing vibes guy, doesn't like the cool song.
I think people do complain about. I think people are complaining about him.
I don't think Stott. I swear to you, if I have heard 5 callers on this radio station call out the season that Bryson Stott.
We've gotten multiple texts today about Bryson Stott.
No, Bryson. It's gotten.
He gets.
I mean, we're almost in August now.
He gets very little ridicule, very little questioning, and
there's a reason why. Even though
vibes,
so yesterday we didn't get to him, and I feel bad. Our man Jay from West Philly,
right?
Who he and I never see eye to eye.
Okay,
he called in because he wanted to ask why does Rojas get heat and Bryson Stott not as much heat. Bryson Stott has gotten heat this year, but we saw that Bryson Stott last year was a Major League Baseball player. We have not seen that yet offensively with Johan Rojas, except for what was a 90-game span last year, something like that.
100-some at bats,
right? And then
not even 90 games.
And then he was basically unhittable in the playoffs. And was already sent down at one point this year, whereas Bryson Stott last year
like
also,
Stott got sent down, like Bohm got sent down.
like all these guys have at some point, right? And we've seen the resurgence of these young players, right? So I think that's why. But no, Bryson Stott is starting to get heat because it's now gotten to the point where you're going, should you acquire like an infielder maybe just to add to the depth of the team?
See, they're not going to just because they don't want to spend that much at this one
Dude, if Whit
deadline.
Merrifield didn't suck, he would still be on this team, and I wouldn't be surprised if he started playing second base.
But
The problem was he was unplayable.
You got to get more games in for Sosa, too, because his bat is considerably better than Stott's. I mean, it's not even in the neighborhood this year.
What's
Sosa and that's what I'm saying. Well, this is the year we're trying to win. I'm not trying to worry about his feelings.
Well, this is the year you're trying to win, then prospects.
No, you've got him on
then you don't give a damn about
you've
prospects.
already got Sosa on the team. You can also get him in.
Here's the bottom line with all of this,
What's
right?
that?
You got to understand that there are more seasons that exist past this one. There is no move that any team can make to guarantee them a championship. You could make this move, and you are in the same spot as if you don't make
no
this
such
move.
thing as guarantees. I know.
So what you're doing is you're saying, I'm willing to waste as much as I can to get what? Well, a percentage point closer to a guarantee?
Well, you can't say waste because you don't know what the end result will be. If they win a championship, then there's no such thing as a waste.
You don't either. So you know what you don't do? You don't go all in on the first hand of a poker tournament.
Let me just go in here. 2023, Rangers were not the best team in baseball.
Correct.
2021, the Braves were not. 2022, I don't know if the Astros were, but I think they might have been.
They were close to it.
I think they might have been. The Dodgers weren't. The bubble season, I can't take 60 games. Nationals were not in 2019. Red Sox were not in 2018. Astros were not in 2017.
So what you're saying is the Phillies should start playing bad on purpose.
No, but what I'm saying to you is that the best team doesn't. It's so random. Baseball's the most
That's
random
my point.
of all of them.
And you can't waste the future on
Don't
randomness.
just throw the future away.
See, that's where you guys were, and me will always not see eye
good
to eye.
enough, and you let the rest fall where it may. They are good enough.
I would prefer increasing my chances, even though there's no mathematical formula that tells you probability, blah, blah, blah. I'm just a guy that prefers talent over lack thereof. All right, we got the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3 coming up in our crossover with Bob Cooney. It's time now for an Olympic update.
Westwood One Sports presents this special update on the 2024 Summer Games sponsored by Kohl's. Heading back to school, head back to Kohl's and Kohl's.com.
Friday, we got our crossover with Bob Cooney coming up in a few minutes. We haven't done a crossover in a few days because we've had the press conferences. Both Vic Fangio yesterday, the Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni special from the day before that. So we haven't done a crossover with Bobby, so I can't wait to do that in a few minutes. But as we do every single day around this time, it's time now for the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3.
Now, the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Yesterday, Vic Fangio spoke to the media. Not his first time as the defensive coordinator of the Eagles, but his first time since the start of training camp. And it was awesome. Let's just get this out of the way. It was great. This guy is football, right? It's
all about the football.
He doesn't care about pomp and circumstances. He doesn't know what the definition of swagger is. He's telling kids to basically shut up because they were too loud. He's trying to hold a professional press conference while also not giving too much, while also being honest, while also not giving a damn about anything else other than football. You've said a million times, John, that we will fall in love with Vic Fangio. It did not take long. Yesterday's press conference made me fall in love with that man.
I think this town is perfect for Vic Fangio.
Absolutely.
He understands what we're about.
My question for you today, did Vic Fangio instill confidence or concern for you yesterday? We all love his honesty, right? We all love, I think, his demeanor. We all love that this guy just breathes football. But he was very honest. Defensively, we have concern because of the lack of talent in certain areas, the question marks of who was starting. Bryce Huff, can he take over as an every down rusher? Vic Fangio was asked about a lot of these things, and he was very honest yesterday.
We heard it, and I could watch you just watching reaction. He would say something that would make me interested. I could look at you, and you'd be doing the same thing, like, oh.
Yeah, like, oh.
There it is, okay.
Right. Been waiting for that one.
He's very candid.
Right, he's not afraid to tell what he feels.
He's almost at full retirement age. He does not give a flip.
No, of course not.
He's got money in the bank. He's a grandpa. He does not give a flip. So he is going to let it fly on these young players. Whether they react to it well or not, we're going to see on the field.
Here's my second question for you guys today. If the Phillies don't make a move of note, they might make a move. They have to make. Like, they're going to add, right? They're not going to sit on their hands. They're going to add something. But it might be not the sexiest move. If they don't make a move of note, how are we feeling? Because you know how people are already packed.
I tell you, one more bullpen arm, and I feel significantly better. A bullpen arm and a left field platoon hitter, I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm fine. And I don't need it to be knock you off your socks move, because those kind of moves the Phillies have shown in their past, the big splashy moves don't necessarily be the ones that make the biggest difference.
You have said this message before. Don't let something in the past scare you, because it doesn't mean it's going to be the same this time. Like, if they made a splashy move, are you going to be like, oh my God, it didn't work in 2009 while it worked here?
I don't see where a splashy move for this team is necessary. There's nobody could convince me it's necessary
and it's
that they make a splash.
It might not be necessary, but we could have a conversation whether or not they should do it. And if there's an opportunity, they still should. Dude, there's question marks with this baseball team. That is the best team in baseball, correct?
Then there's bigger question marks everywhere else.
Yes, but why should I care about other people's question marks? I want to solidify my team.
It's insane what you just said. That's absolutely flat out insane.
That is insane.
Here's Vic Fangio being honest about his evaluation through 2 days of training camp on Bryce Huff.
So it will be a work in progress. Does he look like he can do it today? No, but I do think eventually he will.
No, it's a great answer.
I so love that answer.
Yes.
I don't know that Bryce Huff probably loved it.
I don't know if Howie Roseman loved it.
Yeah, and you know what, though, again,
he doesn't care.
When you're 65 going on 66, he doesn't give a flip.
The statistics don't really speak glowingly of Bryce Huff.
No, they do not.
They're paying him to be Hassan Reddick. All right? They're paying him to be a 3-down lineman that makes an impact. And Vic Fangio straight up says if the season started today, he's not ready.
He's not ready to do that. He has the skill set. We've seen the skill set that he's got it. You asked the question to me. That is leadership to me. That is coaching.
Oh, yeah.
That is, and I know people say, well, you read, and I know, and Connor will tell you, is because Bob would tell me all the time, you read too much into press conference. I'm going to tell you there's an exact example where you don't. Because some people actually answer a question honestly.
Right.
Some people actually aren't afraid to just say what they think, how they think, without trashing somebody. He was careful there of how he said it, but he didn't hesitate. I think he drew a line in the sand for Bryce Huff.
I think so, too.
Of challenge of, hey, we got 4 weeks here. Ramp it up.
Let's figure this out.
Get ready to go. We'll get this thing worked out.
All right, that's the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show on this beautiful Fanatic Friday. And now it's time to talk to a great, great individual.
That's really high praise.
Bob Cooney. Good morning, Bobby.
Hey, what's up, boys? What's going on? Whose purified water is
It
this?
was there when we came in this morning.
So
I touched it.
interesting.
Amy had a bottle like that, but she had the yellow,
Like
the sugar packet.
Oh,
I forget
okay, yeah.
I don't know
Right,
what
But
the
like the Mio stuff?
I don't know. it's
No,
health
the
stuff.
Life Water. Or I don't know what the hell it's called. But maybe she refilled the water and then left it here. So what? Are you mad at Amy?
No, I was just
No.
wondering whose it was. I was
You're doing
looking
four- you're
at it. I
doing
was
4
trying
hours
to
with her, so-
inform myself, learn, Andrew. I'm always looking to learn things.
Is it as gorgeous outside as everybody on Twitter
It is
sharing?
beautiful. I cannot wait to get outside for the weekend. Yeah, it's supposed to be a really beautiful weekend, so very pumped up.
All right.
Yeah.
What do you got on the weekend?
I don't know. The weekend, we're going to
No, that's
concert
what I
Sunday
want. That's what I
night.
care
We're going to be
about.
around the pool all week. Might be a little happy hour around the pool tonight.
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounds
Apparently,
like a perfect weekend.
yeah, before a concert on Sunday, it just grew. I think we're going to have like 12 people over to tailgate and swim before we go over.
That's
so.
pretty sweet.
Yeah,
That's
so we're
awesome.
going to have fun.
Who's
It's
the
going to be a good
concert?
time. Sticks and Foreigners. I don't know.
That's not bad though.
Concerts of
You know,
concert.
combo up stuff like that. That's not bad.
it'll
You'll
be.
find
we'll have
something you
fun.
like.
I'm
Hey,
seeing.
I can always find
I'm seeing
fun, Andrew.
Blink 182 tonight.
There you
Yeah.
go.
I
Atta
can't
boy.
wait.
I think you're gonna have. I think it's gonna be a blast.
Yeah, I'll blast. Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian were walking around Philly last night, Center City.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I'm not. He's married to Kourtney Kardashian. Married, dating.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, I don't know. You pay
know.
attention to these things more than I do.
I could see Connor being all Kardashian.
Yeah, he's always
Kardashian.
more about the
I mean,
Kardashians
I'm
than anything
Kardashianed up too, just for different reasons.
Nah.
What do you got on the
Nah.
show today, Bobby?
A lot of good stuff. A lot of Eagles stuff. Vic Fangio stuff that you were talking about today was pretty interesting, and I had it on a way of looking at it today. So we got that. Travis Konechny, he just became a little bit rich. He's
He
going to
did?
join
Yeah,
us.
he did.
I think
he's
around
coming on?
1:30. Yeah, he's coming on with us around 1:30 today. So a whole bunch of odds and ends. Amy Fadul is with us all day long. So, and this Phillies, this is cool to me. I like that you got two really good teams coming in.
Yeah.
Not playing their best baseball of the season, or the Guardians or the Yankees, but I like this
But neither
weekend.
are the Phillies right now.
No, exactly.
So-
yeah, this is it.
And already the two biggest tests the Phillies have had at home: swept the Dodgers, swept the Brewers.
Yep, I won 5 of 6. I want it.
Wow.
I need it. I have to have it.
Love it.
5 of 6.
5 of 6. Pay attention when I'm talking, Andrew.
No,
5 of
I'm
6.
paying attention. I'm questioning 5.
I won 4 or 6, 2 series wins.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That's nice. I want better than nice. I want great. That's what I want.
Bob's a tough
Bobby,
judge.
man, you're tough.
All right, boys.
Enjoy your
Hey,
weekend.
join our generous partner, the Davis CPA Group. They're great folks. And make a donation today to the AACR, the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR. I'm living proof 3 times over. Cancer research saves lives.
Bobby, if you hear me, come back in. I have a question for you. Ray, send him in. I got to ask him about the untucked and tucked
I think he
thing.
went to
Oh, yeah, you missed it.
Untucked or tucked sheets?
When you make the bed, you tuck the bottom. When
I know.
you get
when
in
you're,
the bed,
when you're
you
sleeping,
untuck them.
you untuck the bottom completely,
No,
right?
no. He tucks the bottom of the bed.
When I make it.
But when he
then when I
sleeps.
get in and I sleep, yeah, you
Yeah,
kick
but
it
then
up.
you don't know. When you make the bed, you tuck the sheets.
That
On the
wasn't the
bottom of
debate.
the
wasn't the
No,
The
debate.
debate was
Sleep.
sleeping like a psycho.
No,
Then why do you
sleeping,
tuck
they're
them?
out.
Yeah,
Then
they're
why
out.
do you-
out. You let the dogs
Then
out.
why do you tuck?
All right, let's let the show out.
Oh my gosh!
Everybody-
let the weekend out.
Everybody have a great, great freaking weekend. It's been
gonna
a
be
lot
awesome.
of fun. Show number 95 in the books. Next week we'll reach 100, God willing. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Cooney and Amy Fadul right